Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto learned Genjutsu from Kurenai during the Chunin exams part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. I was 3 before the memories started. When they hit, it was an all-at-once memory dump that knocked me out for a few days with the flu. One moment I'd been a dorky chubby baby drooling all over without a thought. The next, the most extreme fatigue and headache I'd ever had. Like the massive migraine to end all migraine. Some things I didn't remember. Names were hard. Family had already been overwritten, with mother being the figure I saw as my new mother sort of thing. Where something didn't overlap though, I remembered the before. I remembered my native language, not the one I was learning, which is how I first paid attention with my suddenly adult mind as things were being written over as I learned them. Key things, that is. Ideas. Names. Words. When I started learning to ask for soup, the idea of chicken noodle was replaced by miso. Whomever my older brother had been before now, I could only think of my twin as my brother. I had no other siblings, so the nebulous memory of having them before remained. Grandmother told stories later on about how there are hammers that hit a soul when they go to reincarnate, so they don't remember their lives before. Clearly, I'd been barely touched. My name is Ziwei. Yes, that Lee. It took me a lot longer to figure out I was in a world I had only followed up from the first 10 or so episodes, and then just from my friends babbling I knew I was in for a future nightmare. Yeah, apparently the Naruto world? It's real. It's still confusing. The shock and adjustment period wasn't fun, but luckily kids aren't really supposed to know what is going on, so it was easy enough to brush off. By the time I was 5, I was resigned to the fact I knew nothing, remembered nothing really useful, because internet is awesome as is random Star Wars jokes, and she said but not any use here. And was kicking myself that I hadn't been a bigger fan of the show. Need I point out how much I was hoping most of it was wrong? Because ninja zombies and bunny goddess crazy ladies from the moon? Not so fun. Sounded too much like Dragon Ball Z on a bender. Oh god, I can't drink for years. It turns out my brother doesn't like his name Raku. He says Lee Raka sounds silly, and he likes our surname better, so it's what he is identifying by. He's switching them when he introduces himself. Like a dork. We're both stubborn, so I don't say anything about it. I learned one thing fast: Konoha is surprisingly informal. Almost no one goes by last names here, which makes life much easier and Lee's deception much gentler to pull off. Although Ziwei took forever to hear as Lee, Ziwei always made me want to correct people to Lizzie, and I knew that hadn't even been my name. But seriously. Ziwei was the North Star, the place of the Celestial Emperor's purple palace, and shortened was Z. Just purple. Our last name Lee meant plum. My brother is literally Plum Rock, or the pit of it. I'm Plum Purple, or Purple since it's a purple-hued fruit, and gross. I'm the ninja world's moon. It turns out Tenten is our distant relative. Both our families came from near the land of iron, and it's only with our father that we got any shinobi blood in us. Tenten has it back into both of her parents, for a single generation. Our families are matriarchal, which is awesome, and little Tenten is already vicious with chopsticks. I like her. Lee takes after our father, right down to the huge eyes, and his lashes are crazy long like a cow. It's actually very pretty on him, which makes me wonder why he was drawn so strangely in the show. He is loud and serious though, with black hair and eyes, and really pale. I take more after our mother, and that's where the joke on my name gets even worse. You see, ninja can and often do have strange attributes. I'm pale as my brother, my eyes are gray not black. But it's the hair. Luckily it's really dark. Purple hair runs in the family. Yeah. Lizzie has purple hair. Seriously, who up there is laughing at me? It used to be my favorite color too, right there with blue, but now if I wear it, I feel like a kid's toy. Because of course my parents think it's adorable that their little plum blossom is in purple, and that angst aside, it really wasn't too bad. Lee, if I call him Raka, he pouts, and it's adorable. And I learned quickly that our chakra is very weak. Lee's coils are deformed, and with lots of work he'll be able to tree walk and water walk, but that's really about it. My reserves are nothing special either, smaller range of average. Our father's no higher than Chunin, so it isn't a surprise. What was a surprise is that our mother is a dangerous little bitty thing, and so are grandma and grandpa on her side. They moved with mother to help raise us so that our parents could have time alone. Or that is what they said. My brain heard it as saving face when we hauled out of town. Anyways, mom let us be at our grandparents' mercy early. The Lee clan isn't well known and rarely produces ninja. It's mostly a civilian clan specializing in making sake. Yep. Apparently drunken fist style is hereditary, and something of a clan secret. Allows even the untrained Lee members to kick some serious Bruce Lee style, but we make lots of other liquors, and I think it's another sign of someone laughing at me, as plum wine used to be my cheap slutty drink of choice when I couldn't afford anything decent in college. Regardless, I get distracted easily. And this is apparently part of my mother's fighting style. It's called the Nanisher form. Meaning no name. Yes. Marvel at our family and its naming styles. Moving on. The real reason for it is that samurai learned how to harness chakra without it being ninjutsu. Somewhere in my line, one of my ancestors learned how to incorporate minuscule bits of chakra and precision with taijutsu to make a method that is female-specific to take advantage of our slight builds and allow us to turn an opponent's strength, and even chakra against them. It requires absolutely insane chakra control. Thus, while our Ota-san is out with Lee teaching him to throw a punch, my Ka-san is working with me on making a piece of paper stick to me. Did I mention I'm 5? Yeah. That weirdness about how the kids were insane fighting machines so young? 2 things. 1, they have a calendar that is actually about double ours. So everyone's age? Double it. That means you graduate the academy at 24 and look like a preteen. Puberty takes twice as long. People who channel chakra seem to age slower in some weird way, and it's creepy. Because one other thing, like the Chinese back in my before? They count the time you're in the womb as part of your age. That means I'm currently 4 if you count our way, but if you count my age as it is right now here in Konoha by they're absolutely creepy who has almost 700 days in a year. I'm 2.5, and I'm working on trying to find my chakra while my brother is outside learning to punch. Why me? The first time my twin showed what he was destined to turn into was at the playground. We were 6 now, or 3. I'm starting to get used to the double year as a year. Want to know what I'm not used to? Everything else. Lee and I were practicing racing each other because the other kids were quietly ignoring us. Well, we were in traditional attire that showed we weren't many generations from Konoha, and kids don't usually like the unfamiliar. Who cared about them? Lee was always game for running. I really didn't like it, but I was a competitive person in my last life. This one? For some reason I swear it's now in my blood that I cannot let a competition go. It explains so much. Now, because Oka-san is working with me on my chakra control, I can even the playing field just slightly by racing Lee with tiny little flickers of chakra in my legs. Because they are short and stubby and puffy, traditional pants are wretched to run in. Lee is a monster baby already and can huff and puff and plow as if he was a bull. Best 5 out of 6. He bellows, and shoving my bangs out of my face I breathe out, holding up a hand as I catch my breath. I can already run and do things that my old body wouldn't have even tried. We're like a whole other alien species. Who's winning? I tilt my head, my large gray eyes staring into Lee's black ones as he pauses. I forgot to count. Lee wails, and suddenly I'm in a tight hug as my twin babbles. He's hilariously cute and I laugh, a little more at ease. In this, at least, my unfair prior advantage serves me well, though I pace myself by using Lee as an example. Let's start over. Yes, seriously, he's infectious with his enthusiasm. We begin running again. At some point our Ota-san scoops us up without warning and plops us down on a blanket that came out of nowhere because the man is a freaking ninja. Not that I am complaining, because it's pretty cool and I now have food in my hands. Lee is eating his carefully, both of us fully aware thanks to many lectures from our Ota-san that our natural use of chakra when exercising means we must eat fully and well to replenish so that we can both ensure either of our coils shrink. I'm pretty sure it's just using the one thing he knows we both don't want, so we eat the food he made. I love our Ota-san. I didn't really have one before, but he cannot cook. At all. Apparently Ka-san wasn't available. The burned and slightly oversalted rice is a pretty good sign. He also brought us dango, though, which he doesn't even think to remove off the skewers for us. Ninja do not have ideas of sharp and dangerous, keep it away from kids, I've noticed. The dango is delicious and I savor it slowly. When Lee is done, he waits for me. It's something of a tradition for us after we eat something with a sharp object to then try and impale it in the nearest target. Our Ota-san watches both of us fall short of the nearby tree only a few feet away and then lectures us on proper wrist flicking. Tintin showed us a trick so this we can actually do, but I had gotten Lee to be sneaky with me. Because throwing the dango skewer damaged them, our Ota-san pulls out a few more. Double snacks. Ninjas are weirdly awesome parents. The next time we celebrate our birthday, Grandma insists we walk around with invitations to give to all the children we find. Of course, it becomes a competition. I'm practically forcing them on everyone, though at least I'm smiling and explaining it so most of mine get accepted. Lee, come on. It's my twin. He's almost hitting people how hard he's handing them over if he's not bowing and scaring them with his intensity. To be honest though, I wouldn't change him for the world. He's the loud and obviously intense one, and what's left of my bookworm life before has me pursuing it in my own way. Team Rockstar all the way, okay. Apparently the ninja is a crazy person, is infectious even at this age. I just made such a terrible pun, and as no one here speaks English they never even understand it. It's something in the water or the air or something. Tobarama doing an epic troll from beyond the grave. Maybe I'll start blaming him for everything. The red invitations are rather pretty, with gold plum blossoms on them, and I've noticed that if I approach a parent with a child, the parent takes one look at the Lee crest and smile widely. They soon then assure us they will be there. Sure enough, when I flip the invite over, it mentions in small print that for all parents, there shall be celebratory drinks. Clever. Now let it be said, I'm fully aware these are going to be the best years of my life. I know for all I didn't keep up with the show that days of insanity are likely ahead, but it gives me a strange confidence. I have no guarantee of survival, but I have already died once. Not that I remember it. So when next I see a clan symbol of my twin's future rival, well, I can say I am fully aware it's my funeral. Pardon me, Hyuga-sama. I donned my best sugar wouldn't dissolve in my mouth smile and approached the identical wall of pale robes, dark hair, and why aren't you blind instead of supervisioned without eye pigment? Bowing, I hold out the invitation, like I need to explain myself. Nope, the card does that for me. Heavy silence. Dudes. Really? Looking up at them, I get out of my bow. I know there are children my age in the compound and I did not wish to leave them out. Would you let them know they and any of the clan who wish to attend are invited? I swear I know what's coming next. Are you inviting the entire village? Well, not the Uchiha. The heavy silence is even funnier, and they have no idea I'm about to troll them. So hard. My Two-san has said they don't know how to have a good time. I'm so making this up, but there's a faint snort somewhere back in the pack of Hyuga wall, and one finally takes the invite. They dismiss themselves with little identical head nods and walk off. They forgot to ask if anyone else would be inviting the Uchiha. It just wasn't my job to do so. Lee got to mess that one up on his own. Ninja birthday parties become really insane traditions, which I think is because for kids at least, your days are an unceasing training to go to the academy, training with your family, developing your bizarre traits, not that they admit to that one, and lots of repetition. So when there is an excuse to party, the adults go absolutely off the wall bonkers. They start at about high school level. There's a few wackos already there, but everyone's being kinda nice. They swiftly hit college level, mindless of the children present. If you have a large party, you actually are required by Hokage law to have a medic on the premises who is not there to get drunk. Ninja adults clearly never grow up, they just get good at playing pretend all over again. The Lee clan is spread out over Konoha, but we have a sort of block or two of town that we kinda bought out. It's all in areas you aren't supposed to have homes because the refineries are right there, but it means we get a lot of peace and cheap land. Practicality is one of the hallmarks of the Lees, and my mother's family, who I learn only that night was called you, are very into being practical. I mean, they're run by the women outright and kind of took over the Lee clan when Okasan and our grandparents came in. Seeing as most Lee elders had died in the Third War, they were happy to have someone around. Besides, yous didn't believe in frivolous beauty items, and so if you couldn't do it yourself, you rarely did it. I think the civilian wives were more upset about that than their husbands were the transition of who had final say in things. By the time Lee and I were in the world, however, things were harmonious. It helped that the first rice wash water and sake itself was a great beauty treatment, and they were now making creme with it to sell in the markets. Granny's idea. I'd probably go by the surname you if it wouldn't make me laugh hearing you EC. Instead of use English, you'd get me in so much trouble. So our party meant lots of beautiful decorations everywhere because we used the same ones for all the events. Everyone had good traditional attire on in various shades of purple and white and silver, so we looked all matchy-matchy. I looked right out of a little Chinese painting. Disgustingly adorable. My gray eyes matched my hair ribbons holding my hair in the two traditional side buns. I had a purple dress on, a chi pao, in purple with little silver and white plum blossoms and tiny purple shoes. My parents had way too much fun with this. I walked away from the mirror to find Lee, because when in doubt, seek my other half is kinda my thing. It's gotten to the point I don't even really remember not having him around. My memories of the before are becoming sort of more a book I read that I can never tell anyone about. Lee? Lee pops his head out of the door, fully dressed but a bit askew. Sighing, I start tugging his sleeves and collar into place. Sorry Z, I was sneaking in some sit-ups. How many? 15. I forgot to count at first again. That's okay. We'll do lots tomorrow together, okay? I'll sit on your feet for you, thank you. Lee smiled and took my hand in his. Of course our Two-san had made sure he was my opposite in the color scheme. Dark purple pants, his shirt matching mine, but the colors were reversed to be silver with purple details. What? Lee, I think our parents like making us match too much. Well, we are twins, and we don't look that much alike. Lee nodded to himself. He really was quite smart, just not around people he didn't know well. He liked to be underestimated. I think we look like our parents. We do. But I wish we looked more alike. I knew Lee was sad sometimes, and so I had to put a spin on it. He did this on purpose, knowing my next response. Well then, Two-san and Ka-san would be putting you in a girl's chi pao. I tapped my chin. And you'd be prettier than I am. No one is prettier than my Ne-chan, Lee exclaimed, his fist held up by his chin as his eyes practicality burned, daring me to argue. Thank you. The actual party was already in full swing. Really, it was our birthday, but aside from the piles of presents on the side and that cake would be out later, it was more an excuse for everyone to get together. It was mostly civilians, but there were some ninjas because our Two-san may only be Chunin rank, but he was very skilled and they needed him desperately. Which didn't make sense because apparently he had a desk job. Whatever, the Hyugas had actually shown. Not many, and I didn't see Hinata or Neji there, but there were a few tiny pale-eyed children that Lee and I greeted and talked with for a while. Lee had, of course, blundered his invitation to the Uchiha, and it was probably for the best. My twin had enthusiasm but not what I'd call tact. Lee I adored, despite the fact we were so blasted tiny. I couldn't socialize well, however, with kids my own age, as my brain still thought I was a much older woman from before. So I sat with the elders for a lot of it, and listened to their stories. Lee played games, pulling me in for a few with a challenge that my blood would not let me back down from. It was nice. Like everything else, it soon became rather normal. Our days blended in with the seasons into a lot of repetition. Train, study, listen, etc. Parties became something I had fun with when we would be sent out with the invites. Lee and I would trade off who invited whom, and we often had a lot of the more elite shinobi clans sending lesser members to be polite. One time I was sitting politely sipping very sweet tea on a garden bench at another clan's home, the Yamanaka one, I thought. At least I kept seeing a lot of blondes. I had been sitting in silence beside just another hyuga whom I couldn't tell if they were a boy or girl child because we were in that soft-faced stage and they were in a formal yukata and hadn't talked. Finally though, after the second time someone came and refilled my teacup before continuing. Lee had vanished earlier with some of the other kids to play tag, but the outfit Ka-san had put me in this time was all white, and I'd been promised a new training lesson if I didn't get it dirty, the Uchiha are being boring again. That was kind of impressive. The hyuga didn't even say anything, but I could sense the question without them even moving. We were still pre-academy. That was actually rather awesome. Tu-san once told me they don't know how to have fun. They aren't even mingling. You are at least sitting by me even if not talking, they're just standing around radiating smugness. I heard the snickers in a choke sound and inwardly gave myself a high five. Okay, sure it was a kid, but still I was making a hyuga laugh. They are a prominent clan. Oh, apparently he could talk. And was a he. I hope that was a boy's voice. Some of them were pretty high-pitched. They look average though, I pointed out. It had always bugged me in the anime how everyone fawned over how good-looking the Uchiha were. Black hair, black eyes, no expressions. Pale skin. Minus the expression, that's what most people look like. My brother has black hair and eyes. They have prominent features. Most do. I suppose we hyuga have an advantage there. Then the pause went on to the point I figured he was done talking. Hey, I tried. Of course he waited until I took another sip. As do you. Well, thank you. Roundabout compliment so unexpected I almost choke on my tea. Ugh, hyugas. I had returned home with a pristine white chi-pao. Immediately second thoughts formed when I saw what Ka-san was going to teach me. Never underestimate the little women. Oh. Jing-a-ling, you weren't stretching far enough. Granny was quite happy to sweat me with her little paper fan. Now it wouldn't hurt, except she did this thing with her fingers and paper suddenly was like a ruler. Taking a deeper breath, I ignored the burning sensation and pushed my body further. I'd made fun of people doing yoga in my before. This was revenge. This was someone up there giving me karma and letting it do very bad things to me, because I didn't just get to stretch, oh no. I was stretching like a Chinese acrobat. I had bells tied to me in certain locations, and if I quivered or jerked they'd jingle. Jingling was a bad thing. I had to hold my stretches. Logically, I knew better than anyone my age should, that this was going to make me awesome. It'd help when I was older and maybe even save my life. Right now though, well, I am still blaming Tobirama. For everything. He had to have put something in the water forever ago. Jing-a-ling, someone hates me. Tobirama really was a troll. I checked the history scrolls. The old stuffy, boring smelling funny sort that no one cares about here because A. He wasn't considered a legend dorks, and B. It only talked about him as a person, nothing in his training or ninjutsu or anything. It was just stories sent about him from one of his friends to the man's kids. Some of the pranks he pulled are so lame. He is my new version of Murphy's Law. Something went wrong. I blame Tobirama. It gets me through days when all I hear about is chakra. I am seriously thinking chakra must be addictive because give people a taste and they go all crazy. Maybe the Nara are onto something with how they try not to use it or do so efficiently. Granny still gives me looks all the time holding her fan now if I'm just standing around. She takes my training so seriously that I'm starting to wonder if Guy didn't have Lee pre-molded for his insane workouts thanks to her. She has a habit of threatening us with more exercises if we slack off. Her favorite is if our form gets sloppy, she makes us do punishment routines using other muscles, and then back we go. Ka-san says in a few years she will tie bells to my shoes to make me walk softly. I hate bells. Tu-san is always working with us on our academy basics to prepare us. Pure taijutsu because apparently it's the one area kids mess up and fixing that later can be a disaster. Grandpa is also teaching us something like Tai Chi, which is pretty fun. It is a way of focus, inward meditation, and learning the precise areas of your body as you flow from motion to motion. Lee isn't very good at it, so we usually do it as our cool down, once he has his nervous energy out. So if we start when the sun is up, usually after lunch, I beg for it because it hurts a lot less than the agility training Ka-san and Granny put me through. No one is fooled, but they do laugh at me. I never thought I would look forward to running laps because that at least made sense. And my constant piping up before we start of run away. In my weirdest sounding accent because British does not translate here well. Everyone thought it's funny since the first time. No one gets the joke, and that is fine. Seriously, I hate running, but running is good. So good. Because yeah, I have tiny chakra reserves, and in the future there will be dudes slinging chakra around like Bia at Mardi Gras, so I have two choices. Go crazy like Lee or go smart. Smart Alec more like but meh. Fortunately, girls naturally have better chakra control, and my heritage means I am learning a fighting system that will take advantage of this. Because twins are nuts, and we are always challenging each other, so not my fault, I swear it's in my blood. It takes another crazy long double year before my grandfather decides to troll me during one of my bendy as body shouldn't chakra exercises with bells on. My family is crazy. I have been keeping a piece of paper with of all things a plum blossom drawn on it on my face while focusing on a twist the underworld created. Chakra makes paper stick. It's what my muscles are doing too, but I have to force them to go in ways they don't want to. Grandpa teasing slaps another cutout flower on my cheek and says keep it there Zichan, whatever Gramps. Puffing out my cheeks with the intake of air, I just mentally tell it to stay put as I don't have time for this. It does. Grandpa then slaps another. I hear him cutting them out, and plop on my forehead. Really, Grandpa? I am not a plum tree. Trying to focus here, so now we know who I get my trolling from. That wasn't my being a little turd from before. As I try to focus on getting my ankle up higher than my calf while bracing my weight-only hands and leaning forward in a really funky angle, Grandpa keeps sticking cutout flowers all over me. I bet I look like a hippie bush. That sounds bad. Only a touch of my attention's on him sticking them to me with what must be a paste as I try to get my brain past how much it freaking hurts to stretch like this. Still a year off the academy, and I'm doing exercises like a circus nut. But I feel every time he slaps one on my form giggling and cackling like he got into the Lee clan sake stash early. I don't really pay it much attention aside from noting that I am going to be covered by the time this is done. Finally my body quivers and the irritating jingling doesn't stop, so Granny gives a sharp and relax. I so flop down. While blinking my gray eyes a few times, I look over to judge how I did that time, as you know, little focused on the ouchy stretchy bendy. Huh. Mom is grinning. Granny looks like she ate a sour fruit, so her happy face. And Grandpa is still cackling off his rocker. As I stand, little plum blossom cutouts fall off me, making me look down bewildered. No glue? It seems, Ziwei-chan, that you possess unusually strong chakra control, my granny says, and then she smiles. Now you do not want Granny to smile. She has a nice one, but when she smiles bad things happen. Very bad things. We shall have to test your limits instead of proceeding slowly. Did I mention bad things? I had taken to playing hide and seek with my twin out in all of Konoha to get a break from my training. We had lots of civilian cousins, and so massive village-wide games were a thing. No one paid much attention to it. If I took a water bottle and a pouch with snacks, well, I made sure Lee did too, and while half the time we set off together, more often I would go in the opposite direction. I wasn't playing. I was hiding from my sanity. I won a lot of the time because that stupid training meant I could twist and climb and end up weird places and not get found until the adults came out. My two-san usually found me and would sigh, shake his head but not lecture me. Ever since we found out my chakra control was through the roof, the lessons and such turned almost frantic and creepy by the adults in my life. One day I decided to try and get somewhere that wasn't just guesswork and sneak in a visit to my party Hyuga friend while I was at it. His name is Ko, by the way. He is kind of a stick in the mud, but every so often he makes a joke, and he is amused by me at parties, so it works. Seriously, Hyuga are all catty teenage girls on the inside, I think. I had gotten his name out of him by promising not to talk the rest of the event for it. That had actually proven fun, as the minute I made the sign to my mother for training when she asked why I wasn't speaking, I got out of the annoying old people talks for a whole party. Turns out you can get a lot across without words. Who knew? Of course, the Hyuga had waited until he was walking out the door, stood there, nodded once and said Ko before leaving. I swear I saw his and his father's shoulders shaking in laughter as they left. I had not actually dared to approach him at home before. Just polite hellos and how are you, as he was a little older and recently started the academy. I had been saving up my annoyance points. Now seemed a good time. Feeling so out of place in the purple chi-pao and pants at the big compound where the pale-eyed, pale-dressed, smug, silent ones lived, Yano, as opposed to the Uchiha where it was dark-eyed, darkly dressed. No one had heard of symbolism here. Clearly I smiled at the guards. I could so rock the adorable little girl look with my hair up in my traditional side buns. Hello, Hyuga-samus, may I please see Ko-san? They both lifted an eyebrow. Seriously, they trained at that because they each lifted a different brow, the one closest to the gate. They waited. Yeah, I didn't give a name. Come on, like they didn't know. Oh, they didn't know me. Probably. They all looked alike. Is he expecting you, miss? No, but it is important, and if you tell him I promise to not talk to him at the next party unless it is to insult the Uchiha, he will know who I am. Or you can tell him Liziwei is here, but the first is more likely to jog his memory. I want props for making both of them crack the tiniest bit with a lip twitch. They made me wait as one went and came back with Ko, whom did not look amused at all. Of course, that's his resting bit **H face, so it works. Hello again, what is so important, so friendly? I really don't mind your clan hearing this, but can you check no one else is around? Please? Okay, I know Hyuga faces by now, and they were interested. Humoring me, the elder two did as asked, Biwakugan flaring and vanished in a heartbeat. Cool, yeah, I said that aloud. Matching smug looks, then lifted a brow again, waiting for my answer as they both nodded, but didn't answer. Yeah, I'm not stupid. Does that nod mean yes, you know that is really cool, or there is no one around, or someone is around, or so mistrustful in one so young? Lefty stated. I shrugged. Have to start early? Ko rolled his eyes. Well, he looked like he wanted to. They would have said if someone was around. Now what is it, Ziwei-san? I need to work on my calligraphy. I need your help with chakra control exercises. The annoyed look on Ko is exactly why I phrased it that way. When you get in the academy, nope. Not like that. I have too good of control apparently, and my Ka-san's family do not know how to teach in a shinobi fashion, and my Tu-san never had the best control and… Too good? Ko was curious now. Gotcha, yup. They've been making me do some really foolish things trying to test my limits, so I figured I should come ask someone from the experts on chakra control. Common sense says it is Hyuga or Uchiha, and so here I am. My arms were out as I shrugged, helpless. Frankly, I didn't know any Uchiha, and Ko I did. Tell them to look up leaf twirling, already way past that. Whoa. 3 sets of eyes paying close attention now. That is impossible. Ko sounded irritated, and I got why. He had likely just mastered it, ahead of schedule, being first year at the academy and Hyuga standard, but oh right. Touchy boys. No really. Grandpa thinks it is great fun to stick plum blossoms all over me and make me twirl them. It is so humiliating. And it was. Ko hesitated before sighing. Come in, we can see if you are telling me the truth, and asked my Tu-san. Take that. Not even in the academy, and I got access to the Hyuga compound. Hoot. Bowing to the guards I did as said quietly as I could walk. I knew better than to talk before Ko did. He had this thing about silence. I also knew he was insanely curious, so he had to find out now if what I was saying was possible, because it was a crazy anomaly. On the level of someone who couldn't use chakra, being a feared taijutsu master Jounin, which Lee would be someday, and able to open many of the lotus gates. Whoa. Deformed chakra coils could be awesome, who knew? A very long awkward silence later, as Ko handed me 4 leaves and just looked at me after we sat. He started to glance at his own, focusing hard, and the leaf began to turn. Biting my inner cheek, I just shrugged as he stared at me. Pale eyes staring is really quite unnerving, for the record. I didn't get why he had to focus so hard. I just told the leaves to turn and they did, 1 on each hand, and because why not, 1 on the back of each hand. Yeah, I didn't say anything. I didn't want him mad. I really hadn't thought anything of it, that maybe my family was just fussing because no one had seen what you could do with good chakra control. Ko actually had his mouth open. Looking at me again, he shook his head. I will go get my Tu-san, can you keep it up? I have small reserves, but for a bit, yeah. Then rest. I will be right back. It didn't take him long to return with his bigger clone. Once again I set the 4 leaves spinning. He had me do it again while he used his Baiwakugan. Then he asked me to reverse how they were spinning. You do not hesitate. Well no, I wanted to do something it does, it isn't that how this works? My confusion only let me see 2 Hyuga looking baffled. No, I suppose it could be from how small your reserves are. I shrugged at that. Yeah, but my family keeps having me do this with lots of things, and I do not think that is going to help do anything but amuse them. That is true. Have you tried to do this with anything heavier? Bells. I said the word with loathing, and Ko actually chuckled. I had ranted to him about my training before. I have to do agility training with bells, so I focus on holding them still. They found out what I was doing, and it is worse now. The elder Hyuga nodded once and then stood. You are to come back tomorrow. Ko, you shall be advancing your chakra lessons with your friend. As you have managed to unlock your Baiwakugan for short times, focusing on how she directs her chakra will be a good lesson for you. I bowed low, thanking him before popping up my head and grinning at Ko. Congratulations on your eyes. I actually got to see him smile as he nodded his thanks. I was pretty quickly shooed away after that, and went to wander to where Lee would be. It was a twin thing, we just always ran into each other. With this news it would be a good thing and a very, very bad one, and I knew that. But I was done amusing people and not getting better with my chakra. Found you. Lee can tackle like a good boulder rolling down a mountain. Slamming chakra to my feet and body, I willed it to keep me from falling. I stumbled, of course, not that much chakra, and I had been using it earlier, but I didn't end up with a face full of cobblestones. Yup. Hi Lee. My next words bubbled up and couldn't have been stopped if I tried. How is my other half? Have you escaped the Lee clan cousins so far? Yes. It is seriously infectious. I am so doomed. Yes. We are uncaught. Let's go hide in the park. Lee wasn't very good at hide and seek, but I wasn't about to spoil the real kids' fun. Nodding, I braced myself for what came next. Low on chakra did not mean I was going to give in without a fight. Let's race. First one to the picnic tree must do 20 sit-ups. Loser has to do 40. Why did I say that? We took off. With just barely enough chakra in my system to help speed me along, I could sense at the halfway point those 40 sit-ups were mine. I was slowing down. I gave it my all anyways. When finally I flopped without any grace down by the tree, Lee was already on his 5th sit-up. Chakra use wears you out. Who knew? Still, I had given my word, and so I rolled onto my back and waited for Lee to settle on my feet, his arms around the lower half of my legs to provide counterbalance. Made it easier. The sweetie. 1. Come on, Z-chan. 39 to go. Yeah. With the alteration in my schedule, Lee was now getting a lot more training from our Tu-san. Seeing as for a good part of the late afternoon I was at the Hyuga compound, Lee was learning the more aggressive moves that would not be as effective for my body. At least not once I was grown. Seeing as I was learning the U-clan styles, I didn't mind. That, and they were not going to make me take the kunoichi classes so win. It wasn't like they really taught much, they were more to identify those who would have some form of talent in the arts. The last thing I was going to be good on was a seduction mission, or the like, because tiny chakra reserves and all. Wait. That probably was a good reason they were used for that. Oh heck no. Anyways, I wasn't in the academy yet, but we were getting to start the next month when semesters rolled over. My schedule was up with the sun for laps and training with Lee. Then we had Tai Chi in between to cool our muscles a bit before I worked on my agility before lunch. While I did that, Lee worked on toughening up his reading and writing skills. Kanji and the like is hard, but it seemed the same way my brain learned instead of English. It did just as easily with reading and writing. I had been a prodigy with that in mind before, so to have kept it here made me a very happy girl. Also, since we were not a noble clan, I didn't have to have perfection. Chicken scrawl for the win. Well, you know what I mean. I could be legible, that was the point. Once lunch was over, we would help out around the refinery as it was clan tradition. We couldn't do much at our age besides help clean, but it was taking part. We'd get snacks and tea with our cousins there to do the same when it was break time, and then back for my working on the fight forms and Lee working on more of his taijutsu. We'd get to do a few rough spars using our own forms to also learn how to react and counter each other so we weren't pigeonholed. Now being a twin is interesting. Really interesting. Despite our basics being the same, we had two different styles. We were learning the sheer beginnings of that would eventually be our fighting styles. When we fought together, though, we could just tell what the other was going to do. So we didn't pay any attention to our parents and grandparents yelling out corrections, we just fought till last twin standing. Once they realized we really would not listen to them, of course, they started using us to make bets. Our family is so weird. Some days Lee would be the victor, some I would. We both had a stubborn streak as big as Orochimaru's ego, so it was a last drop of sweat sort of victory. We'd lay there a quivering, giggling, useless pile of twins and eventually be shooed off to wash up. Someone would bring in food for us, and we'd get to spend time together. Our favorite thing to do was read. Lee would sit beside me on our futon in whichever room we'd plop into after changing. Taking turns, we'd read stories and make jokes with the windows wide open to get the fresh air. Sometimes, honestly, we'd end up napping. Lee was an octopus. He'd be wrapped around all the blankets and the pillows and usually smothering me with them. I got used to it. Apparently I snorted in my sleep. Could be worse. After that he would help me fix my hair, and I would braid his, under my Ka-san's watchful eyes as she teach us to do it for each other. Then Lee would go to the market or run errands with either Ka-san or Granny or Gramps or any mix of them, and I would be dropped off at the Hyuga compound. Chakra training was so weird. Every day we did something a little different, and went until I nearly couldn't. Ko usually had his eyes activated for as long as he could. His brother Ko, and here I thought my family had originality issues, was about 8 years our senior, and would often oversee us to make sure we didn't have trouble alongside his father. I had the feeling he was being trained for something. We had gone from leaves to stones to moving droplets of water, usually on one leg or with someone trying to disrupt our concentration. Today we were doing a new version, sort of a precursor to tree walking, I guess. The Hyuga had this ever so pretty koi pond and rock garden with various sized stones at intervals and posts set up to jump around and on. What was our chakra exercise? We got to play tag. Hyuga tag is a crazy, hilarious, and sadistic game. I know they didn't like I was a natural at chakra control, and so Ko was often training additional things, like his eyes, as we did this. For the first round, Ko held up 2 stacks of paper with what looked like paper shurikens on them. You will not hold still but constantly be jumping from rock to post and such. Any hesitation and I am allowed to tag one of you as many times as I like, huh? Hyugas can do creepy evil grin. Noted. At the end of the allotted time, the one with the fewest hits gets to go first as the aggressor in the next round. Okay, a thing about Hyuga games? If they say aggressor, that means one of you gets to hit the other. This is very bad. Ko is a year older than I am, and if he's the aggressor, he hits hard. If I am, he's almost impossible to touch. His brother seems to like harassing me for taking up their precious time by making sure if anyone backs out of this arrangement, eventually it's me. Fat chance jerk. Ko sucks. I like Ko a lot more. Here Ko hands over my stack and I flip through them. The paper is a bit thick, harder to be hit with upon impact. I recognized it though from the last time when we were both being chased by the older Ko. When he runs chakra through it, the paper activates and sticks like very strong glue. It hurts to peel off. Like ninja duct tape. Kurenai-san is scary. I mutter to Ko. I know his brother can hear and see me, but he'll pretend otherwise. Ko just sighs and I get the feeling he'd nod if it wouldn't cause him trouble. Watch out for the koi. They are evil. Okay, I can't help but stare at him, and I know my mouth is wide open. You have evil fish? Really? Ko wrinkles his nose. We have full-on expression here, people, this is huge, and nods. They expect people to mean food. They shall splash. A lot. Oh great. Wet slippery stones. The point of the chakra exercise is suddenly clear and I do not hide my whimpering. I have found as much as the Hyuga don't react, they do apparently find me funny as I scramble after Ko towards the stones, going for one on the opposite side of the suddenly massive seeming fake pond. Really, Hyuga? So to clarify, I call out to Ko as we get ready, and I double check the area as Ko has unfair home team advantage. We are channeling chakra to not fall, to help us jump farther, and to make the paper stick to the other person. Isn't this way beyond what we were doing the other day? The other day we were just running from Ko and using chakra to help us stick to the ground when we pulled sudden turns. Ko gives me a flat look. I know that look. It's the you make my life so hard and I don't know if I want to thank you or smother you in your sleep. In other words, yeah, Ko is totally my friend these days. I just nod back at him. Well, wait, I pause and yell over to Ko, loudly because I can, and Ko has privately muttered to me at the last party the Akimichi had that he loves watching all the eavesdroppers flinch when I do that. Does Kokuin? Yes, he is Kuin now. I got permission and everything from Mr. Stoic Mini by **H face himself. Get to use his eyes? No. Ko is clearly doing this for something Ko did then. Far be it from me to not voice it since Ko can't. Kokuin, what did you do? I mean, the whole idea was originally to teach you control and using your eyes while you did it, and this is so gonna be us failing in ways that all the people watching us are going to be laughing, and what did you do to annoy your Anai-san? My arms are waving for emphasis while I do this, and the best part is I know how much my main branch friend thinks I am freaking hilarious, and he gives me this long-suffering look. Ko of course has snapped out you are supposed to be training, so he doesn't want Ko to talk about whatever it is. Hey, I'm happy to be the roundabout interference for the poor younger sibling. I think I was the older one before, but here, that's Lee. And trust me, overprotective big brother Lee is going to be such a nightmare. I know that. So we younger kids have to stick together, and Ko is kinda my only real non-relative friend. 1010 totally doesn't count because I call her cousin and I don't care how much of a distance there is. Ko nods ever so slightly. I reported to Tusen that I saw him with a girl. Okay, I cannot miss this chance. I have a carefully blank face, one that makes Ko stiffen as no one else knows I get resting ***ch face when I'm about to be completely uncouth. Coming out of an adorable little purple beastie? Oh yes, this is gonna be good. Huh. Thought he liked guys. I used Ko's choking to jump over and slap the first paper on his forehead, messing with his vision a little and chortle. I didn't get the pretty hair, yeah. Ko pummels me for that one with a harsh paper to the cheek. I do manage to not slip off the rocks, and every time he lands one of the papers on me I hit him back with one. Both of us have an arm out for balance, so we can only do one at a time. And those fish? Totally evil. They have the rocks soaked within minutes as we are jumping, and I don't think the Hyuga compound has been this loud in ages unless someone was dying. Because of course Ko is shouting at me and Ko and I are laughing our heads off when not yelping ow, and the fish are trying to bite our toes from ninja sandals, and eventually my chakra reserves run out and I end up in the pond. I yank Ko with me first though, and my last pulse of chakra is I want them all to stick to him. Spluttering and laughing and with a fish swimming off with my right hair ribbon, I'm no doubt a sight. But Ko, standing up beside me stunned, with the last of both of our papers stuck all over him and perfect hair all messed up and waterlogged, is so worth it. You know what happens when you exhaust your chakra and adrenaline runs out? Ko saves me from drowning as I suddenly pass out with my last awareness, the water going over my face. Worth it. When I wake up I'm still at the compound. The rooms are really bare, which is normal. Lee and I aren't from a materialistic family, so both of our rooms are probably austere to most people. Really, if not for the fact I have a purple plum blossom on my wall, and Lee has a gray one, you'd never know the difference. We both have traditional futons and white bedding and matching furniture. Our family is strict on things being put away, and all my pretty clothes for parties and events are kept in a main closet so that all the girls in the Lee clan can wear them. Since the family triad of colors are white, gray, silver, but that's expensive, and purple the shade of plums, it makes it really easy to dress everyone. The same outfits I wear each year at a party are then worn by any little cousins I get, and I wear ones my older ones wore, etc. The women all trade off, and there's an understanding that no one can always wear a certain item unless they made it or had it made special for something much more important. Mother had her red wedding cheapao dyed a gorgeous deep purple that's almost black but still shows red in some places, for example. She's promised me I can wear it when I'm old enough. So really the idea of not having a space decorated and personalized is not a new one to me. Someone placed me in a nice brown yukata, and I fold the bedding carefully before putting on slippers and peeking out of the room. My hair is down, which feels really weird. It's long too, and brushes my elbow as I look both ways. When I look back again, there's someone right at my side and I squeak. Backing up, but out of habit my hands come out in a guard position and my weight is balanced along the balls of my feet. The boy blinks at me. He looks a lot like Ko, only not. You startle easily. I shrug because no duh. We then begin a silent staring at each other bit. I tilt my head and he blinks. I probably should introduce myself, but let's be honest, all Hyugas look alike. Really, if his hair was darker brown he looked just like Ko, only Ko always has this slight smile on his face now if he doesn't look like he wants to shove a sock in my mouth. Who do I thank for taking care of me? Yeah, I got nothing to say to you, kid, but I'd like my clothes back and I am not used to my hair being down. Besides, it's late and oh boy if my family isn't going to be worried. Tusan and Ka-san are going to be bad enough, but Lee? I am going to be tied to his wrist. Literally. He's done that before. Because I apparently can get lost in our own neighborhood. Hey, I'm only 5 here. Okay, double years, and also I should be 10, but come on, I'll take you to them. The boy who does not like to speak turns and I patter off after him. I mean, what else am I gonna do? He's not my friend, so I keep quiet. Something that I think puzzles him because he keeps looking back at me trying to be subtle. Good luck, brat. I'm who knows how old mentally, for all I refuse to be mature, and you can't be older than 5 like me. Finally we enter a room where there are a few adults talking quietly. After introductions that are so boring, I mean, Hyuga-sama and Hyuga, yeah, you get the idea. I let it flow in one ear and out the other as I greet them all and thank them. All very formal, laying it on very thick, but that's what you do with the old noble clans. I kind of have fun with it, to be honest, because you cannot lay it on thick enough. Nutella level going here, and you know the color that stuff is. Once all of that is done, the old men who are only looking half their age because the double years mess with me, and none of them know that if you are 25 you should be 25, not mentally 50 but physically not, and yeah. He puts that white eyes of doom-ness gaze in my direction and nods. It is past dinner. You are likely hungry. Word has been sent to your family that we shall keep you for observation tonight and return you in the morning. Your chakra was far too low with the last stunt you pulled. I am so far from sorry about that. I don't even try to hide it. Instead I smile and nod. I was challenged to win, Hyuga-sama. There's actually a scoff from Mr. Silent Kid next to me, but I ignore him. Lee is my twin. If I can ignore him on a sugar craze, I can ignore anyone. This is correct. Ko's father is there, and I seriously will hit my head on something if he's another variant of his son's names when I learn it someday, and I get the feeling he's actually bemused with me. I am curious what you did to make them all stick at the last minute, including those your hands were not on. Whoa. Group of 4 adult Hyuga and chibi stoic focusing on you is never not a weird feeling. I wanted it. They blink at me. I shrug and explain a little more. It is like from the start I incline my head to Ko's father because the dude actually is who stepped in to help me just because I amused his kid at parties. My chakra is not something I focus on that much. I want it to do something, and it does. Since the objective was to win by sticking the most items on, and I was ahead by 1 from startling Coco, and yeah, I'm way proud of that. Not at all honorable, but very much a ninja's move, and so no one says anything. I think Ko is going to get lectured on not having done so first because we were just standing and talking how Hyugas talk anyways for a while. When I realized I couldn't keep my footing, I wanted to win, and so I just focused on how I wanted all of the papers to stick to him. It was definitely a sight worth remembering. And nearly drowning for. Epic, you just wanted. It was stated dryly by one of the 2 most matchy Hyuga I had ever seen. Seriously, these 2 men could be identical. Except one had a bandage on his forehead. Apparently I was possibly sitting with Hizashi and Hayashi, which meant I turned to look at Chibi Stoic and noticed tucked in the corner where I hadn't seen her before is a cute little sleeping mini Stoic, probably a year younger. With blue hair. Well, hello there, Tobarama. I see you're trolling me again. Okay. I accept your challenge. Yup, you do not expect us to believe one of the unknown clones began. The 4th Hyuga, who was the oldest, and Ko's father shook his head. This is what she has stated since the start. I have observed with my eyes, nice emphasis. Totally couldn't guess what you mean. That she does not channel chakra in a normal way. Rather, it forms precisely where and when she wants something. The next time they work together, as she does focus least when paired with my son, watch for yourself. Normally a lack of focus is a bad thing, but the slightly wider eyes and tighter mouths of the Hyuga around me, and the strange look from Chibi Stoic as well. Weird, not in a fun way either. Of course, now is when my stomach grumbles. I'm sent off with Neji because it must be Neji, though he has a bare forehead right now, and we pad along to the kitchen. The ladies there make me a snack and I happily munch on onigiri because they are scrumptious. Neji sits beside me eating his quietly. Before long, Ko sneaks in and smiles, a real smile which I don't get often as he sits beside me. I hand over a rice ball without hesitation. I see you have met my cousin Neji. I have a name now. I reply and smile widely at Neji. Before he can get in trouble for not having given his name, I continue. We did forget to introduce ourselves. I'm Liziwei because I cannot resist the cheekiness of the traditional please take care of me which Ko snickers at. Neji gives me a look. Hyuga Neji. You seem to get in trouble. Taking care of you would be a full-time task. Indeed. Ko says. I shrug. I give back. Ko nods at that as well and Neji looks confused, but I don't explain. Ko can on his own, but I won't risk a lack of eavesdroppers. Ko was very strict on explaining that when walking me to the gate one time, and Aizen was reprimanded for losing his temper, and for the girl. Tusan may have known, but now so do plenty of others. He was smug about that, and I tittered. You're welcome. I knew what he was really saying after all. You're excused from coming tomorrow. Ko states calmly and I nod. Frankly, I'll be amazed if Enai-chan lets me out of his sight for a while. He gets worried. He does. Ko says it so deadpan that I notice Neji looks startled. Yep. Leah's a basket case when riled up and Ko has seen it at the parties. You have no idea, Kokuin. The night passes gently into morning. Soon I am dressed and being escorted home. Very kindly, Ko's-san lets me know I am excused for the rest of the week as my family is no doubt worried for me, but he looks forward to whatever further surprises I bring next week. Lee is waiting at the entrance to our gate, and once again, I almost eat pavement. Z-chan, you were gone so long. I heard you were almost drowned. Lee is frantic as he hugs me now, and I just sigh, wriggling an arm free to pat my twin on his head gently. Ko's dad is totally cracking up silently the jerk. See you next week, he leaves gliding away elegantly, while I continue to be cried on by my wailing twin about how I was almost gone for this world and the light had gone out of his life. Dramatic. Oh, but I love him for it. The days plod by slowly until we go back to normal life. Even then, my chakra training is never quite so bizarre, but I'm being taught a number of things at Ko's speed now. I'm being used for Byakugan practice by lots of kids as my chakra is weird when I use it. The complete ease I have at the idea of deformed coils makes people shudder. To be honest, I'm starting to wonder if it's not a U-clan bloodline trait. We did develop a fighting style based off it, and it could be just happenstance, but things rarely are. Who knows? Tobarama probably, but he's not telling. Anyways, deformed chakra coils that allow one real application to be through the roof isn't exactly a bad thing. Lee will become unmatched in his taijutsu someday. Mother has a never-ending supply of energy to get things done. She's like the Energizer Bunny. Granny? Well, I think she just has the ability to know how to get people to do what she wants, like a genjutsu that works the opposite way or something. And apparently my chakra just does what I want. Which sounds way cooler than it is since I have such pathetic reserves. I will never be a frontline fighter. You know I'm good with that. The academy proves to be a whole new twisted bit. Of course, first day of school I have to troll the place. I just haven't figured out how. Turns out halfway through the day just before lunch I'm given the perfect choice. Kunoichi classes are to be held while the boys go over tactics. Really? Not going to happen. Ziwei-chan, you need to go with the other girls for kunoichi training. Nope. What? Ziwei, all girls. No. I want to learn how to fight, so I'm not a girl for now. I swear I think the whole class just acts like I hit them with a brick. That, but you are a girl, Ziwei-chan. Not for this hour. You were a girl before. The class is going back and forth as I state this with the teacher, who sorry has nothing on Irika and looks completely dumbfounded. Lee next to me is acting like nothing is happening. He is so used to me by now, kind of how I am when he goes nuts. Out the corner of my eye I think I see Neji, who I haven't seen since that one time, shaking his head. Oh yeah, Ko would talk about me, but I am not right now. You can't just not be a girl. Ziwei-chan, the teacher is getting bothered now. I'm just getting warmed up. Yes, I can. No, that is not how it works. Prove it. I cross my arms and lean back smirking. I get into kunoichi class. You first. I am a boy. Well, right now so am I. No, you are not. Prove that. Dead silence. Yeah. I thought as much. Lee-kun, please inform your sister to get to class, the teacher almost begs my twin. You know he must be used to twins or something, because yeah, I listen to Lee, but Lee is my twin. Whatever else, he has a nutty sense of humor, and we've pulled this stuff on people before at parties. It doesn't have to be believable to give them headaches. Sensei, my twin is in class? Lee deadpants with a big smile as usual. He carefully doesn't say sister, for which I give him a smirk. Your sister needs to go to her rightful class. My twin is where they will learn things. Lee nods, pulling the dumb act, and then we both grin, having seen the clock. We've done this one to our parents before. By the way, Grandpa the Troll totally taught us this routine to mess with his friends. So the next part we say in unison. Aren't we supposed to get started? We've wasted 10 minutes already. The sensei throws his hands up and goes to the board. I get to start learning tactics. The next day when Lee and I give the sensei a look as the girls all get up to go to kunoichi class, he doesn't say anything. Twins 1. Sensei 0. You are not a girl. Ko finally says one of the next times when I am working on holding a stupid pose Granny taught me and keeping of all things, a feather stuck to the bottom of my foot. Upright. Blasted Hyuga. I have to admit my chakra use is pretty awesome. You know, if you ignore the fact I have less chakra in my whole body than Kakashi loses if he sneezes. Neji-san told you? I tilt my head back. I'm in a sort of funky reverse position. Like when someone leans really far back with their hands over their head. Yeah, make it where their arms are folding behind them and the legs are more doing a pretty ballerina pose in an almost upside down scorpion if I remember from my yoga friends before. Anyways, essentially for someone my age, either of them the 5 or the 10 depending on the year before or double year. I shouldn't be able to do this. But hey, I'm in a world of ninja, and when your life revolves around training, which is still so weird. Anyways, I'm crazy flexible, but it is hard and it hurts. And if I had bells on, I'd be ringing them like Quasimodo on Surge and Pop Rocks. Ko looks over, holding a formal-looking pose on one leg, on a very thin post no less, and just gives me that Hyuga eyebrow raise. I roll my eyes and don't answer. I've learned to force explanations out of my friend if he wants me to explain my insanity. Which he does. I think he really is upset he isn't in my year at the academy because the things Lee and I get up to? Well, Neji thinks we are idiots. He thinks I'm half idiot, half genius because of my funky chakra, but essentially an idiot. You apparently declared you aren't a girl to the class as a whole. It took him how long to tell you? I blink at Ko and shift enough to scratch my ear. I did that the first day. Unspoken as it has been a week. Ko sighs. I think he wasn't sure I'd believe him. You know me better, unfortunately. That's actually a you bet I do, now spill. You know, out of Hyuga speak, they wanted the girls to go to kunoichi classes. Which are as a whole pointless unless you go on seduction missions, and if that was the case, well, they aren't going to send women who learned as little children how to walk in kimono and arrange flowers. They'll send ones they teach after they've developed. It even says as much in the academy library. I've learned to my surprise though that no one here likes to read. It just blows my mind. You have phenomenal information right at your fingers, but no, you'll go slam your head into the local post a few hundred times instead of reading about a technique. Ninja, so you claim to be a boy. Strategy is far more useful. I groaned then as I fell over. The stupid feather was still attached to my foot though, as I hadn't thought of it falling off. I think I broke something. What? Ko actually sounded worried, and I knew he'd see nothing wrong. My give a vulgar. I looked over and smirked at him. You know you're laughing. Deep inside. Way deep inside. Ko smirked at me. You are wasting your time. It's not as if she has any chance of getting enough chakra to make use of herself. Oh Neji, you got that stick lodged up your cheeks early, didn't you? Instead of saying that though, I flopped onto my belly and just lifted a brow. Nice and slow. I'll let Naruto remove the issues from Neji's skull in what is it now, 8 or 9 of the double years here. About 2 decades in the before kind? Meh. Whatever. Patient I am not. I'm going to be the pebble in the shoe sort of thing. Doesn't seem like much, but if you don't fix it you could end up with a broken toe that leads to your tripping and breaking your neck. I smirk then. I know it's a creepy smirk because I'm learning to copy Granny. Besides, are you questioning your elders, Neji-san? How rude. You are not my elder. I flap my hand dismissively even as I haul my shaking form back up and point my toes to the sky, this time using chakra to help hold the pose. Yeah, Ko's dad totally makes me exhaust myself first. I think he's still hoping I just will fail. No, but the Hyugas who have observed me think I am worth the time to tell me what to do to improve. I think they know what they are doing, and I'm grateful for it. Seriously, I am. Especially because I'm a loud-mouthed little troll and yet here I am all the time. They could tell me we were done, they haven't. So I flirt with chakra exhaustion regularly, and I work on making Ko have a life. Gives me something to do while Lee is working so hard on taijutsu. Each of us must pursue what we have skill in. Neji is quiet, just watching us. I don't care, my world narrowing to keeping my feet towards the sky and my feather upright off my tabi-clad toes. You're going to have trouble getting married someday, Ziwei-chan, if you keep refusing your femininity. Ko finally says, anyone who wishes to wed me this young before seeing what I can do with my potential is not exactly using their brains. I respond to Ko with a laugh. I peek out at him with my right eye. Besides, Lee is my brother. I'm pretty sure that'll keep me single forever. Somewhere, one of the Hyuga eavesdroppers snorts. The academy is really boring. We train, we get indoctrinated. We learn history and have our basics taught to us. Lee does very well if he's sufficiently tired out before class, which is not easy. Before lunch we learn taijutsu and we spar. We are taught to throw and use different weapons. Here the advantage of our father being a ninja is made evident. Tenten, Lee and myself are always in a group challenging each other. Tenten always wins, but then she's the future weapons mistress. She kicks so much, but my aim is good. Really good, but I try to never use chakra to enhance my aim, so it throws me off a little. Lee tends to, for lack of a better term, blow his wad all at once. Tenten varies between tossing every weapon she has and making bullseye no less, or drawing it out one at a time. I just try to get it done before I get sidetracked. Because, well, yeah, we have Uchihas in our class. They don't like me, which is pretty funny. Of course I act like they are just anyone else, which irritates them to no end. Thanks to my days before, I've got all the stuff down for the most part they are teaching us. I mean, even the crazy advanced math will be easy for me someday because of the hell that was school. I don't even attempt to hide that it's easy for me. I'm more likely to screw up in hiding it, and so they're always talking about my high written scores. Yeah, it's called I'm a bookworm who uses the library for what it is meant for, and I am so cheating because everyone else here is the equivalent of 10 back before, and I was a few decades at least before I croaked. Cheating is part of being a ninja. I feel zero shame. Of course, because they are kids, like Ko brought up. The gossip that I deny being a girl makes the rounds. Humph. Not that anyone would even think of you as a girl, ugly. One of my female classmates tries to put me down. Who taught these girls sass? I think we were coming up with better insults when I was in middle school. Don't care. I mutter as I keep working on identifying the choices of weapons for long-range attacks and why I choose them. Yes, I get my homework done in the time we have as a free period. AKA the adults go sneak off for a mental break. See? She even knows that. I know that you're being a gossiping idiot, and I'm getting my work done. But sure, let me know how explaining your poor grades to your parents goes when they come out for the week tomorrow. I don't even look up, mentioning that while shuriken are useful in my writing, I prefer saban because they are easier to hide, have other uses, and if your opponent isn't as good with them, they probably won't be trying to find them to fling back at you. Never give your enemy a weapon after all. Now look here, you little, I'm an annoying brat. Yeah. I got that. There's this screeching sound, but I don't respond, just lean back in my chair, the chakra slipping out to let me balance perfectly on the back legs as I keep reading over my work in hand, avoiding the slap that landed onto my desk. Someone pipes up just then, letting me know it got really quiet. I blink and look over my paper at the stunned faces around me. What? Lee is a wonderful big brother, and does his duty to keep people from questioning my luck as chakra control hasn't been taught yet, pushing me out of my chair the rest of the way. Sibling love, year one of the academy proves to just be like training at home, only with lots of chibis. I don't get along with most of my peers. At all. Lee is my twin and I love him, and he is super and amazing. I am shamelessly biased. Besides, he listens to me, so I have him cracking the books pretty often. Ko is a year older than I am, and frankly our weird friendship is super comfortable at this point, which is great because then Lee doesn't mind going off with the boys all the time. We are the good kind of twins. Super close, able to do lots of other things without the other. Neji and I just ignore each other. For some reason the fact I am not the slightest impressed by the branch family genius seems to make Ko far too entertained. The way they decide who is branch and who is main is complicated. Hizashi and Hayashi have a weird dynamic too. For twins they aren't that close, or at least so it seems. Jealousy, I guess. That's one nice thing with Lee and I being so different. We could have struggled. I am completely able to imagine a world where Lee held my having any chakra at all against me, especially with the control I do, even though my amount is like a full bladder. Not that impressive or fun to deal with. Of course I could be jealous that he can get the taijutsu down like he does. Oh, he works for it. I am not denying it, he works insanely hard for it, but so do I with trying to figure out my chakra. My control is better as I learn my limits this year, which is mostly restricted to my learning what my reserves can handle. I've heard a whisper of prodigy twice. That creeps me out to no end. Bad things happen to prodigies here. They become little killing machines even earlier, they get used. I'm a girl too, where the only prodigies I can think of right now: Neji, Itachi, Kakashi male. Minato maybe? Male. Yeah. Female prodigy has paid my family and cows and by me to breed babies all over it. It's part of why I love that my one-time joke of not a girl right now has never ceased freaking people out. I said it once, with a clear reason even stated. I don't even fight my parents on the purple on purple cuteness factor anymore. I've yielded. I have Stockholm Syndrome to a color here, folks. Yet, people never forgot I said it, and I think they're all expecting me to suddenly claim I am Lee Rio or some other name and decide I'm a guy. It's kinda hilarious, and I think Tobirama would get a kick out of it. For the most part though, I figured out swiftly why skipping class was a thing. Not that I did it, because if I go, Lee goes, and Lee cannot do subtle, so I suffered through school. Again. Really inane school where we learn about past missions and history that is so badly butchered and edited and repeated over and over. You'd seriously come out of the academy thinking that Konoha bloomed like a beautiful flower in a garden overnight. Anyone who has ever grown anything can tell you there is a lot of fertilizer involved. Lee and I have recently celebrated beginning the second year at the academy. In Lee clan tradition, we ran laps around the academy before it opened. Well, more like he made the challenge, and that's something in my heritage that makes it where I can't seem to turn down a challenge had me accepting, and yeah, I lost. I always lose to Lee, but even trying to keep up with him makes me a better ninja, so it's completely fine. As we are finishing our last lap before we will need to head in early to claim our place before all the other students come in, it happens. Lee slams on the brakes, and I almost slam into him in turn. Lee! What the Lee has his hand over my mouth, and I am hauled into the bushes effortlessly. Looking over, he has his really intensely focused expression on. You know, the one that in the anime made him look constipated? Oh, it's even funnier in person. Finally I yank his hand down and peek to follow his gaze. There's a pretty little girl with pink hair nervously waiting by the entrance. One guess who, and I let my head fall backwards onto Lee's shoulder with a sigh. Of course. Well, this is going to get interesting now, isn't it? You know, you could just go and talk to her. I couldn't. I wouldn't know what to say. I have no eye. Hi, my name is Lee. It is nice to meet you. How are you liking the academy so far? I don't even look up from where I'm unpacking our bento for us. The sudden fixation my twin has is quite frankly adorable and annoying all at once. He hasn't been able to pay attention, and I cannot tell you how glad I am there's no weird twin mental thing going on here. You make it sound so easy. It is easy. Stop sulking. If there was someone here that made your heart race with their perfection, you would understand. Possibly. I shrug, because when we don't all look like little kids I may be interested in someone. I don't discount it, but not right now. I need more time for the before to fade yet further. I would rather focus on my studies and training for now though. Hey, don't give me that look. My lips twitch at the stricken expression Lee had gotten, as though I was saying he was not dedicated to his training. Lee, I think it's great. Really. If you think she hung the moon, I wish you luck. Munching on our food, the sound of chopsticks and content sounds as clearly Kasa-an packed our food today as it tastes good is all that happens for a while. I remember that Sakura was pretty sweet in the show until her Sasuke obsession days. Maybe if we start subtle. I don't hate the girl, I just think she had a lot of potential that was wasted for too long. A plan forms and I sigh. This is going to bite me in the butt cheeks. Hey, she's sitting alone. Go ask if she'd like company. Treat her like she's little Hataru-chan, you do really well then. Hataru is our younger cousin who startles easily. Lee is very good at staying calm and cheerful around her, and she follows him like a baby duck. You don't think she'd? You're an older student, Lee. She's alone, but if you don't act soon she may be rescued by someone else. The burning ferocity of his gaze may scare someone who didn't know Lee better, but I know it just means I managed to finally use the right words to get him determined. Rescued? Huh. I need to remember that one. Nodding once, he stands and straightens his back before going over. I set my own lunch down and lean forward smiling at the sight. It's a pity I can't hear or read lips but Don't higher level shinobi know to enhance their senses with chakra? I focus on wanting to be able to hear so far away, never blinking if I can help it, and slowly, I can just make out what they are saying. Lee pauses before the pinkette and in a surprising twist manages to keep his inside voice despite his nervousness. Hello, would you like company? Ah, Sakura is cute. Dang it. She nods, nervous and shy, and they just sit there, both eating awkwardly. My name is Lee. Sakura, it's so quiet I almost can't make it out. She looks up at him when Lee asks how she is liking school, and slowly from there a halting conversation starts. It is really pretty cute. Hello, Ziai-chan. I shriek and fall off the bench, clapping my hands tightly over my ears as the pain seems to slam through my skull. The startled eyes of Ko meet mine from where he was standing by the bench, but I can't hear over the pounding of my heart and this weird ringing rushing oh. Crap. Chakra hearing. I squint through the sudden ache that has nothing to do with flopping on the ground and whacking my tailbone, and how much I just want to hear normally. Not super, not anything but normally. I didn't mean to startle you. Ko sounds worried and I wince, because my head now hurts something awful. Tried to eavesdrop. Ko, bless him, is smart enough to figure it out and he cracks a half smile. Better now? Head hurts. I groan but he helps me up and my aching skull is made a little better by his applying pressure in certain places on my skull and neck. It should ease it a little. I didn't think of doing that. Very bad idea. I will even admit it to your Tusan, your jerk brother, and Hayashi and Hizashi-samas. I whine as my head lowers. Lee still talking? Didn't even notice. Ah. Okay then. You seem to like ending up in pain, Z-chan. Ko chuckles softly. Just getting used to life. Yeah. He so doesn't get my joke. That's okay. Pink hair must be the daughter of Haruno-san. His isn't so brilliant, of course. Shinobi? He and Mabuki-san, his wife. Both aren't precisely in the area very often, so I imagine there's a friend or relative that helps raise her. This going to be one of those clan advantage things you spout out at me? Ko snickers under his breath, but he knows what I mean. It's an ongoing joke that for a civilian clan, the Lee family, when it decides to have ninjas, are some of the most determined. Tusan is a rare breed who actually enjoys paperwork, and thus is considered indispensable by most the shinobi forces. In addition, the fact that my civilian mother and grandparents from her side have been training me in a form of taijutsu that will someday turn my chakra into a specialized fighting style is well received by the Hyuga. And something of a secret. Neji has a ceremony this weekend. He changes the subject softly, and I hear what no one else would in his voice. Reaching over, I take his hand, not caring who sees. I know I can't be there, but anything I can do. You tell me. Even if he doesn't like me, if I can help. Ko, like many children in either side of the family, hates the idea of the caged bird seal. It has a point, of course. But if it really was to keep the eyes out of the hands of others, it would be on all of them. It's been perverted and twisted, and the thought of his cousin in pain upsets him. We're just lucky it's later than I remember that it happened in the anime. Neji is already in his 3rd year of the academy. His father is still alive. It looks like some things are different, and I have no way to know if they are and why, nor have I decided to care. Tobarama water supply and all, there's no possible way to be certain the tale I had access to was entirely correct. Don't act any differently to him. So don't show up with a fruit basket and be sympathetic. Got it. Think he'd like a reason to latch out at me and have someone to be mad at? I managed to get Ko to shake his head at that. Probably, but he wouldn't be holding back. How good is he at the super gentle fist that breaks things? Yep, every Hyuga I have met tries not to laugh at the snarky renaming of their fighting style. Better than I am. So big injuries. Got it. I pause, and then, though I really hate pain, truly, I groan. Let me know if I should do something to get beat up anyways. There. That's my good deed for now. Helping Lee doesn't count. He'll do just fine on his own. Right. This is Lee. We had a freak thunderstorm for a few days. Every so often Konoha actually gets weather, but it's usually perfect. Thunderstorms, though, are new, and somehow Lee and I ended up camped in the living room. We'd hauled a futon down with both of us working on it, and our pillows and bedding. From there we were able to watch out the big window in the living room as the sky lit up and noise rattled the air. What do you think makes the noise? Lee asked. His hair was loose for sleep, and let me tell you, he has the most gorgeous thick black hair. Not fair. I stammered because I knew what did it, but that was science. And logic doesn't really apply here. Instead, I tapped my lips to try and come up with something fanciful. Well, maybe it's the gods Grandpa is always talking about. You think they're fighting? Yeah. Maybe the sound is when they hit and the lightning is from their chakra? That'd be cool. Lee trails off, chin propped up on his hands. Hey Lee? Yes Lee? I pause because I am not sure how to say this, but then I just decide who needs tact with Lee as a twin. Do you ever feel like we don't fit in at the academy? Yes. Lee pauses, and I almost want to kick myself because of course he doesn't have chakra. We are different. They don't understand the joys of a challenge. They mock me because I don't have chakra. What? I am furious. I mean, I know it would probably happen, but how did I not know about that? Because I'm a boy, Zichan. It's my job to protect my Nei-chan. They were saying you stole my chakra when we were in the womb. Only not that intelligently. Lee is much smarter than he lets on. He doesn't even give me a chance to butt in, knowing me too well. Besides, if that was the case, I'm glad you have it. It's not safe to be shinobi, but I know you will always be smaller and more delicate than I am, and so if I can protect you when I am not there by your having the chakra that should have been for both of us, I would have given it to you anyways. Is it any wonder I've come to love Lee? I don't hide my tears. We were never taught it was wrong to show our emotions, and so I sniffle messily. Love you too, Ni-chan. I get a beaming smile, and then Lee shifts closer, flinching in surprise at the next lightning bolt. You want to go visit Sakura-chan with me tomorrow? Lee asks softly, shy. I chuckle but just nod. Lee tries to not approach Sakura alone to avoid the teasing. He's also trying to get me to befriend her, but at this point really I have trouble being friends with other kids. Ko is a bit different. He's a means to an ends with my chakra control, and as a Hyuga I don't think he ever had a day to just be a kid in his life. It does sometimes worry me though, as I don't remember anyone his name and age existing in the show. Really, there were not many kids outside the rookie 12 though that we saw at my age, so maybe that is why. I hum softly and watch the droplets sliding down the window. We're already 6 years old. 6 more and I'll be going on missions. The fun times are going to end soon. Once I graduate, there is no guarantee I will live. That my friends will live. So I need to ensure I live as fully as possible. If I can help Lee by seeing him end up with Sakura someday? Well, why not? It'd be nice to see him happy. Especially if I am not there. It's a sobering thought, and maybe it has to do with watching the water cascading down from outside, something I think of related to Tobarama, whom is troll and harbinger of all that can go wrong in my mind. I need to see now while there is a chance to do something with it to get myself out of the coming rampages alive, if my chakra control can make up for the small amount I have. The best way to find out. I need to spar with a Hyuga, one who does not hold back and doesn't hesitate to push me to the edge. I remember hearing in my previous life that you never know what you are capable of until you have no other choices. And while part of me feels gross knowing I'll be using someone's suffering to my benefit, I'm hoping doing so will also keep Neji from becoming so twisted as he would otherwise. This is so going to hurt. I'm going to do something really stupid after this weekend, Lee-chan. I usually leave off the suffix, so my use of it only underscores my point. I can feel Lee's regard even though he doesn't move. I am probably going to come home really beat up, but I'll make sure the other guy is too, so no trying to defend my honor or anything, okay? You can fight your own battles, Zichan. Lee nods. He chuckles then. Just remember to keep your determination and no one can beat you. Oh Lee, you're so adorably naive. It is still raining the next day when we don our umbrellas. Lee's has cute little turtles on them and mine is purple with flowers because parents dash. The fact I pouted that I didn't get the turtles but I wanted to match my brother did make them cool and promised to get us matching ones next time. Come on, Ninja World? Turtles? I want in on that even if no one else gets why they make me grin like a loon. I do like our rain boots though, more clan kids sharing so they're just gray but those match. And I can stomp in the puddles. 50. I shriek as I splash down in a particularly nice one. It makes a giant splash and I feel a trickle of cold water that runs down my boot on the inside. Giggling I whirl around to face Lee, who splashes into his own. 51. Lee is as thrilled at the puddle stomping as I am and we are taking turns, water logging ourselves to see Sakura. 50 I too. Lee hollers and leaps again. This time he has his umbrella held out behind him as he tries for maximum height. Luckily we are in rain jackets as well because Ka-san is fully aware of what we are like. I know I can't jump as high as Lee, so instead I run over, laughing, and jump on his back. Go for 53, yes. Lee hands me his umbrella as well, and holding them both up, trusting him to keep a grip on my legs, he jumps to the next one. Let's go for 60 before we reach Sakura-chan. I think we can do 60, and if not, yeah, I try to just agree and this sort of nonsense comes out. It must really be genetic. We'll do 5 laps of the block, backwards. Lee pipes up and I think, okay. Backwards, we manage to make 60. It's closer to 64 but there's no running laps in the rain. We make it to the unassuming house and knock on the Haruno's door. Lee is mellowed enough from the exercise, but he's clearly excited to see the pinkette. Puppy love is cute. Lee-san. Sakura answers with a smile and then sees me, and her face actually falls. What did I do? Sakura-chan, it's so nice to see you. You're as nice as ever. Oh, meet my twin sister, Ziwei-chan. We all just call her Z-chan. Lee says and I see the tightness to her tiny form ease. Whoa. Is that a good sign or a bad one that my being with Lee made her unhappy at first? She looks so nervous, so I smile back at her. Nice to meet you, Sakura-chan. I've seen you at the academy. Oh, I Sakura fidgets. She's so shy. Okay, drat, but the kid is cute. I guess if you wanted, you could join us? Lunch? Sakura finally manages to get out. I blink a few times but smile. I really would rather eat with Ko, but I'm not going to be mean. The kid is bullied by her peers besides Ino if I recall, and I'm not going to be mean. Sure. I appreciate the offer. Though I can't do it too often or Lee will be sad he doesn't get as much time with you. I have zero issue throwing my twin under the carriage, so to speak. Sakura and Lee both go absolutely red. Oh, I have a new hobby. Ziwei. Lee whines, clutching at his face in embarrassment, and I give the shit-eating sister grin known across worlds to Sakura, who is wide-eyed but looks pleased, and that cinches it. He's always talking about how smart you are, Sakura-chan. The sudden beam on her face tells me all I need to know. There's a brilliant mind in there. Heck, she passed the first stage of the Chunin exam without cheating, and she's not oblivious to what Lee's embarrassment means. And as intense and odd as my brother is, she's polite enough to neither accept nor deny to him that she doesn't know how to respond. Come in? Lee practically bolts inside, and I chuckle, whispering in Sakura's ear. He gets a little enthusiastic when happy. He can't help it. Fair warning and all. I think it's nice that he isn't scared to show how he feels. Sakura looks self-conscious, as though that wasn't meant to be said out loud. That whole inner Sakura thing, maybe? Maybe she didn't learn to keep it non-verbal at first. I just smile at her and nod. Kinda runs in the family. If we ever get too out of hand, just tell us. I see how she bites her lip as she closes the door behind us at that idea and grin to reassure her. It's really no something we mind. We know how we are. The visit goes nicely. I mostly poke around or give little inputs here and there as Lee tells Sakura all about his training, and Sakura is sufficiently impressed and engaged with asking questions. Lee then turns it around, and when Sakura corrects him on a topic she learned in history that he started to discuss with her incorrectly, instead of being shy, he thanks her. After the fourth time she's corrected him on something, because Lee is smart, but he isn't as much of one with history and math, and still struggles with the formal kanji, and Lee is thrilled to have it explained, Sakura comes out of her shell more. Her clear wonder at being appreciated for her information by an older student makes me grin. I wish I had a camera. When one wishes to push a Hyuga into being stupid, one must be prepared to overdo the stupidity yourself. I swear that should be a logo. Sighing, I pad forward knowing this is a bad idea, but Ko had come to visit that first day back at school and his face alone, and that he didn't touch his bento, told me that Neiji's branding went well. I tried to distract myself by watching as Lee approached Sakura to eat lunch with her again, making the shy little girl smile at him. They were a lot of fun to watch, and I just hope I can prevent the years of Sasuke stalking and let Sakura bloom sooner with Lee's less than quiet support. I did love to tease him about how pink had become his favorite color. It didn't work, and so Ko and I spent the lunch period a few days in a row discussing this idea I had come up with. When a Hyuga will swat your arm and call you an absolute idiot, and then agree to a plan? Never a good sign. Hello, guard-sama. I chirp, bouncing a little on the balls of my feet at the gate. The two Hyuga on duty are always resigned to see me and just wave me in. I am not fooled. They'll be eavesdropping just like the rest of their secretly gossipy clan because I am a break in the routine. Ziwei-chan. Ko seems to just appear out of nowhere, silent and sneaky Nin in training that he is. Right at my side and with a tension in his jaw and shoulders that he isn't even trying to suppress my viewing. Bad, huh? Ko stays quiet, not wanting to answer, to admit a Hyuga is weak. Still, in the end he sighs and gives a tiny nod. I don't like your idea. It's stated so quietly and calm you'd think we were trying to decide if we were having fish or eel for dinner and didn't really care. Which part? Because of course I told Ko about my insanity. He hasn't said a word, but I know he's given his brother and father, and thus Hayashi, a heads up so they keep anyone from interference. The very fact Hayashi has not said anything about my scheme to get Neji out of his funk means he approves but cannot be seen doing so to the elders. Ko knows the full depth of it though, and he's not at all agreeing with my method, though he admits otherwise I could be taking years at our current pace. I haven't told him why, but he knows me well enough to feel I have reasons to not trust one, have time enough in the world to learn my limitations. He also knows better than to pry into the business of another clan. This is you. Ko's answer is curt, not at all friendly, but I know he doesn't like the idea of seeing me get hurt. Hey, I am not looking forward to it either, and if Ko didn't know how much I really loathe getting so much as a bruise, he'd be protesting a lot more. Let's just get to it. Ko nods at my form, and then begins a sedate walk to the branch house. There are many turns in the seemingly easy pathways, and all the halls and doors are identical. One needs a Biwakugan to navigate, and it was done for just that reason. If you are willing to trust your guide, it's not that disorienting, and I do trust Ko. Actually, aside from my family, I think he's the only one I trust. Ko barely knocks. It's more a tiny flash of chakra and no answer. I didn't really expect one. After all, it's not like Neji would scream to go and leave him alone. Ko's white eyes meet mine. Last chance, we can still leave. I take a big deep breath. Because this may be my last act where I'm even allowed in the compound. But there's lots of reasons to take a chance. I slide open the door and walk in, snorting as I see Neji in the corner glaring at nothing. His eyes snap up to me and the ugliest snarl I've ever seen on a 6-year-old's face plays out, caged bird seal on display. It seemed so simple in the show and manga. In person though, there's a weird slimy hue to its mark as it seems to twist and stain his forehead. There's something about when you see it in person that is strikingly uneasy and just wrong. I get why one would come to hate it. Leave. Neji's whisper is hoarse, dark, and twisted. No child should sound like that, and it helps steel me for what I'm up to next. Make me. You're sulking, and what has that gotten you, Neji? You missed school. You haven't left your room. I can smell you from down the hall. Every moment I look at him, and his seal. I'm not denying the truth of it, that much I won't do. It only infuriates him more. Neji doesn't lack grace despite however long he's been curled up there, and shaking in his fury is clearly moving to toss me out. I get one shot at this. Sitting here isn't going to make it go away, Neji. I get you're mad, I understand it's twisted and I don't agree with it, and no, I can't understand what you're going through. I won't feed you that trash, then get out. Neji's eyes have gone from disdainful when he'd see me to loathing. I think if we were older he'd have a kunai across my windpipe right now. Get it out of you. The anger. You can't do anything in here, but you can if you come with me. Let's go spar. You're no challenge. I'll surprise you. You'll fail. He sneers then, and I just know the F word is coming next. It's in your fate. Yeah, there it is. So? Put me in my place then. The same way they've tried to do to you. I've never gotten to spar with you. You always tell me I won't amount to anything. I tap my forehead, drawing the parallel. You hate that I'm in here all the time training, so I'm making a wager with you. I hear Ko draw a breath sharply outside. This is admittedly a new layer to it, but Neji needs to want to fight me, not just go hit a post. You win and you can decide if I come back or not. Neji goes still. It's no secret he hates my taking up time with anyone here, that they let someone as worthless in their chakra reserves in as I am here. I did also carefully phrase it though so someone could make him agree to let me back someday. Ko is going to owe me for this. Or kill me, as he likes my visits. There's a charged moment. I have no doubt Neji is more aware than I am that there's almost every adult here eavesdropping on us right now, or at least watching. I'm giving him a chance though, take out his anger at the unfair treatment to get something he wanted. Or in the shallow way he'll never admit to, make himself feel better by belittling another. This had better work. A single nod, a mocking sneer. After you, let's hope my guesses on how my chakra works are right. The Hyuga have a special area in the rear of the compound for spars of a private nature. It's essentially so they can get out arguments without it being easily seen from far away. Generally you would need to pass most of the compound to get to the location, and it is indoors on top of that. It's also utterly massive. No one walks with us. Ko stayed behind, but I'm under no illusions. Every pair of active eyes will be observing, and it feels like I am walking into a courtroom, unprepared. My nerves are making me feel sick, but I'm still holding to this. For Ko and Neji. To be honest, also for me, because I've seen it all the time in the show and heard of it when my parents talk. You have to be pushed, really pushed by someone or some situation that you cannot hold back to start to find your limits. Until now all the training, even though it hurt and has been irritating and exhausting, has been that. Spars. Lessons. I remember the fact Neji nearly killed Hinata in the Chunin exams, and while it was a long festering anger, and I am so thankful for whatever reason that his father has not died this time, though I have no idea what changed. He's hurt and furious now, and while we are both kids, he is the real prodigy. I flinch and feel a twitching from my right shoulder blade, the muscle down below it. Yeah. I'm scared. One fight, nothing held back though, may make the difference between surviving in a few years or becoming a footnote. I've already died once, thanks. The quiet of the arena, for that is what this is, makes the sound of our shoes echo. Just concede before we start. Save yourself the embarrassment. Neji says, and his sneer is livid, so different than usual. This Neji is cruel because he's been wounded. For all the wrappings on his forehead hide the gaping maw of his seal, it's a very real injury in many ways. This is not the cool and disdainful Hyuga I usually know him as. With any luck, the anger won't fester. I've given my word. Is all I say as I go to my side of the room, slipping into the fighting stance I've been taught by my mother and grandmother. My feet apart, loose limb not tight, loose muscles can flow better. My hands are slightly curled to grab and push, not just strike. My left arm is held slightly away from me, arched, to swing and provide counterbalance. My right is ready to guard. I'm right-handed, but I also know these strange positions are to prepare me for in the future when I have real weapons. Ones that are too heavy for me right now. I'm not surprised that there's a few elders that showed up before us, though no one says anything. That the entire clan would be watching in some way is just a given. Many think I should never be here, training. A waste of time. Lots of others I know like the break in the monotony, that I seek them out. Also my comments about the Uchiha are well known, and it makes them smug. My stomach is coiled around my backbone now, letting me know it does not like this choice of action at all. Begin. I'm not sure what elder called it out so calmly, but in a moment we are both moving. I'm fast, Neji is faster. Neji is stronger, I'm more agile. There's no testing of blows here, we are kicking and punching and blocking and twisting and no leaping because every bit of energy is needed to thrust and dodge. This is not a fancy battle, this is two kids fighting because there's a reason. The first real hit comes at my elbow and I yelp without shame as I feel one of the chakra points collapse inward. It's like hitting your funny bone all directed to one tiny little space. Blowing out, I take the second while Neji is focusing, using his little bit of chakra to seal that point to strike at his ear. Hard. How grandma taught me. Chakra crackling inside the cells of my palm, it seems a stupid move, to essentially box his ear. But there's chakra and it snaps and Neji flinches back. There's a trickle of blood and I don't hesitate to dive backwards as he snarls and rushes towards me. I've yanked the tiger's tail now. I ruptured his eardrum, threw off his balance, and he's going to do his best to make me suffer for it. I dodge. Everywhere I go there he is again, faster as he whirls, the ear strike barely slowing him. The genius that Neji is, he's already figured out how to counter it. The next punch is to my jaw even as I'm blocking a kick that came from nowhere. It hurts and I feel it pop slightly. That'll bruise badly. I twist as he kicks at me again. Every time I punch or strike he manages to pull off 4. I'm so badly outclassed it's pathetic. Thank gods for learning to enforce my muscles with chakra. Hiya! Neji slams into another chakra point, this one at my shoulder, and my arm goes entirely numb. He barely gets out of the way of the kick I sent towards his kneecap and I hop back. The pain seems to exponentially increase where he'd already hit my elbow earlier. Noted. Each point blocks chakra and it builds up, becoming worse. No wonder it is so effective. I breathe out and as I focus on dodging physically, part of me coils up and hums. Not yet. There's a particularly brutal roundhouse that sends me skidding on the floor, but I scramble up, throwing myself back at him even though I'm down in arm. You can't win. Neji sneers and blocks another point, on the wrist of my good arm, the one that doesn't feel numb. Yield. You haven't had enough yet. I snarl back and slam my numb arm into a blow that almost hit his side. That's gonna hurt later using my limbs, though I can't really feel them. That's 3 points closed off. I'll show you. For 10. Okay, he doesn't have the full rotation down, but he is fast. Now is good. I slam my head into his and he gets out of the way, clutching his bleeding nose even as I see stars. I hiss out and want. The pain and the knowledge Neji is going to come back even faster, and it's going to hurt more seems to do it. I feel my limbs again. Somewhere I hear gasps even as they feel numb, the chakra pooling at certain parts of my arm and hand that should be numbed. My hip that shouldn't be responding. Let me move anyways and I block his blow and retaliate with a kick that he catches. Pale eyes, surprised then furious. Thinking it's a last-ditch effort, he actually uses my leg to toss me the jerk. Yield. The pain is incredible and I don't think I practically demand of myself as I force my aching body up. You haven't had enough yet. Blasted, I'm not sure who in my family I'm channeling, but I force myself up and I'm determined that his blocking my chakra flow is not going to work and I will get this done. Several more times, though as we are tiring it takes longer to be sent to the floor. I get up each time and Neji finally pins me, his forearm across my windpipe, and annoyed but no longer livid. Yield. I hurt so badly I know I have tears that are sneaking out. Thankfully it's bruises and strains and that I can handle, but oof, Neji is heavy and I gasp for air. My gray eyes meet his pale ones. Had enough? You're the idiot on the ground. I feel myself getting lightheaded. Yeah, that fight used up all my chakra. Neji hits hard but I blink and manage to shudder a bit and force the words out. Look better. Not so mad? Enough? Neji's eyes widen and I see him mouth what I kept saying earlier. The Hyuga genius gets off me and looks down. My vision is a little foggy, but I did hit my head a few times and used a lot of chakra. You haven't had enough, he repeats slowly as he looks at me, and finally the anger and hurt and disgust at himself and his life has faded. I must look a sight, the way he keeps staring at me. I know my hair buns have fallen out, and I'm probably mottled and bruising already. Neji, I'm not sure if it's Hisashi or Hayashi that seems to move towards him as my sight is blurry. She needs to be healed, Neji says, and I'm aware of being propped up and the soothing chakra that is gentling the bruises, and I can't help but moan. Oh, that's better than an ice pack. Hayashi-sama, the person who is so carefully controlling exactly how much healing chakra they use, calls. I'm aware there is hushed whispering, but frankly my skull hurts and oh. That's better. I reopen my eyes to realize I'm surrounded by quite a few matchy-matchy Hyuga. Neji is right in front of me, looking as though I'm the strangest thing he's ever seen. Then ever so slightly he nods. I'd like to work on improving the speed I use closer chakra points. Next time. I just know this is where I should have a cool saying or a dopey grin, but instead I groan and fully aware I am whining. You hit hard. Several Hyuga do that extremely soft laughter thing and Neji's brows are furrowed. Yet you still hit me with chakra despite my closing off your channels. I blink at him. Did he really not? I look around, sitting up better as the one healing me finishes. They always leave the pain a little to help remind us. You're all looking at me weird. I'm used to your special eyes, so I know you really are. Neji blocked your chakra points off. A few, even multiple times. You should not have been able to reopen them. Hisashi, yeah, he's got the headband, states as he moves beside his son. They were sealed flawlessly. Ah, Neji just puffed out his chest a little. Seriously. I'm aware my tone is not very nice, but I feel like hitting them all right now. Well, not Ko and his dad, but they're special. I've been coming here for how long now, specifically because I have weird chakra and you guys are always watching me with your Baiwakugan and you've never realized I don't use channels? Ziwei-sen, everyone uses channels. One of the nicer guards begins and I sigh. Nopes. Not me. That's part of what makes my chakra weird. They haven't watched like we have. Ko states. He's standing beside his brother and father and at the sudden attention he stiffens. No one makes a move and I realize they're making him present his findings since he spoke out of turn. Poor guy. Ziwei-chan in all the time we have trained together has not been trying to learn to use her chakra, proceeding at a swift rate, but to find its limitations. As to now the only one found is her small reserves. That's not— No, really. I interrupt, and sigh because yeah I know this is weird. Tu-san tried to explain it but even when my Ka-san and grandparents tried it doesn't work. I never felt it moving through pathways. I want it to do something, it does it. I blink as I realize that the Hyuga around me are now looking puzzled. Surprisingly it's Neji who is standing in front of me, arms crossed, who frowns. The last time you were trying to balance a feather while in an inverted pose. No. The last time I was trying to enhance my muscles with chakra after exhausting them first, so it was up to chakra alone to keep my muscles solid and hold me in that position. The feather was more so Kokuin would know if I fell versus passing out. Again, the silence is really kind of eerie. Even if this is what I wanted, you do not manifest in channels as everyone does. Someone stated, and I groan. Yeah, that's basically my problem. Needless to say, somehow I end up bundled up in warm blankets and sipping miso soup and tea because keeping warm is good for wearing out one's chakra. It's not really proper exhaustion at the level I am right now, but just shy of it. I was sort of turned over to the women of the clan while the rest went into a sudden meeting and dragged Ko and Neji along to discuss. Luckily Hinata at least is there for company and a few of her cousins, and so we are all content to sit in comfortable silence. I'm under the medic Nin's orders to rest for a while, and they promised to let me go before dinner to go home so I don't bother to worry about it. Besides, Ninja Kid, we kinda can come and go at all hours. Even though I am 6, God, this place is weird. It feels more normal with every day though, which is saying something. Finally I am allowed to leave and informed that after a few days of rest I am able to continue more training, but until then avoid using chakra. The Hyuga are all eyeing me now with no small bit of bewilderment. Well, I guess I did just throw a fit, challenge the head's nephew and local genius. Get him to kick my butt and revealed they can't really use the technique that is a clan secret fighting style against me. Neji is the one to see me off at the gate. He stops before we get there and puts his hand out, blocking me from going forward. For the longest time he says nothing before finally he drops his hand. You can return. He doesn't say anything else and I feel relief. Thank you. I'm 2 steps from the gate when I hear Ziwei-san. HM? I look back, and pale eyes and a too serious face lock onto mine. You said you haven't had enough? Yes. Neji nods. I want to smile but I am just so tired. Thank you. Next time, let me know in advance that you hit harder than a tree landing on me. Hyugas don't do grateful well and so I see him smirk a bit at my offering him a way out of the awkward conversation. I'm no Naruto. I'm not trying to change his life but he was suffering. As unhealthy as it is to me especially. Taking that out physically on someone clearly helped him feel better. That it proved to me my chakra control is scary weird and now there's no way the Hyuga don't realize just how much so is just as important. You'll get used to it. Oh great. I'm gonna be Neji's new test dummy. I totally don't miss the wicked smirk he gets at my pathetic whimper. Neji chose to use me as his new training dummy only about once or twice a month. It was a small amount, but coupled with the daily spars I have with my twins something interesting happened. Apparently I'm actually really quite vicious to spar against. I mean, I knew half the time I won against Lee by sheer stubbornness and being clever but it was still startling. One of the Uchiha girls Sasuke's being impossible and grouchy egotisticalness? Yeah. The girls have it times 80. Whose name I never bothered to learn was my usual sparring partner. While I had to scrape for every victory when I was 6 and clueless, and still work at it before well. Now that I was used to not only tackling my twin but also a few times the genius prodigy that was Neji, I learned to save every scrap of chakra I had and use the lessons on enhancing my muscle structure. Grandma and Ka-san were drilling into me without a second thought. The first time I went all out because I was tired and it had been a long week. The Uchiha princess was laid out flat before she knew what happened. Heck, I didn't even know what happened. But you know? It felt really good. Up until I had her dark eyes staring at me from the ground. A stunned hush over the circled children there with us. I think I had let my tiny chakra reserves mentally become a hurdle. I knew I was above par because Lee and I were always fighting and he never let me win but forced me to work for the right. It was a healthy, wonderful twin rivalry. I knew I played with Ko who made me work for every victory regarding my chakra and having to think and be clever because he had an innate advantage and abused it. I knew Neji absolutely would wipe the floor with me every time but I would get in a few spectacular hits that would have him being black and blue somewhere. It had not occurred to me that I was working with the current absolute masters of our generation. I was comparing myself to the prodigies and the geniuses and 2 of them had magic eyes that just were nerfing the battle. Against a normal person? Even one from the so-called noble clan of Uchiha that supposedly had a devastating unusual method of taijutsu that was the basis for when they inherited their eye spookiness. I was as far outclassing them as I could. My opposition shrieked and rushed at me as swiftly as she could. 1, 2, 5, 8 times I not only blocked or dodged but turned her momentum against her, sending her backwards or to the ground with almost no motion wasted. It had me in a slight bit of a daze as we let out after sparring, and I went over to Sakura and Lee, the two still regularly eating together in quiet awkwardness. Lee? I totally just wiped the floor with Bradyheim's face, I muttered as I leaned into him. Stealing something from his lunch, I had no idea what. It was the theft that always made it taste better, and I pretended not to notice him swiping from me seriously. Isn't she the top kunoichi in our year too? Sakura smiled at me, in her timid way that was so different from the dangerous shrieking beast and later the force of Mother Nature's fury she would become. Ah no, you are rather good at taijutsu, Z-chan. I felt my forehead wrinkle. Am I? Sakura-chan, I'm used to fighting Lee here, I always just felt I was average. Sakura shook her head, an adorable pout on her tiny 5-year-old face as her green eyes shone with the need to prove herself right. Ziwei-chan works hard and shouldn't belittle her accomplishments. I paused, halfway to biting into Lee's onigiri. I have been training with the best. Just giving Sakura a smile and nod, I resumed eating while the thoughts ran about in my head. I had sort of resigned myself to just being good enough, but it hadn't even entered my mind that by choosing to associate with Ko, the sort of frenemyship I had formed with Neji, and of course my relation to Lee, that I could have a chance to be formidable myself. I had fully intended to take the chakra route, well, with control. This was opening up other options. I needed a chance to focus. Whispering in Lee's ears so he would know not to worry, he'd been so much more clingy since I came home beat up and black and blue from my first fight with Neji. I scampered off to find an empty classroom and pull out paper and pen. All right, I had intended to become devastating with my chakra. That's still in. I have tiny reserves, but I had been focused on finding my limits to my chakra control. As of right now, we haven't found one. It has started to get me stares in the compound, really, as the Hyuga don't know what to do with someone who has beyond perfect control. I'm an anomaly. In canon, wasn't Sakura suggested to become a Genjutsu specialist with her control before she flopped around for a while and then found medical ninjutsu, more specifically Tsunade? I felt the edge of plastic as I nibbled my pen in thought. I like Tsunade, don't get me wrong, and I think Sakura became someone pretty amazing until she went all stupid and back to the Uchiha who shouldn't have been trusted again after what he pulled. Right. Back on topic. Besides, Sakura and Lee are totally adorable when you see them in real life, and I have every intention of nurturing those two together. What if Sakura had found being a medic but someone else as her teacher? Or more than one? Would she have been more like Kabuto? Would she have pushed boundaries because she was trying to create even more techniques instead of learning another's? Who knows, it was something to think of, which brings me back to my own situation. Okay, perfect chakra control means ideally medic or Genjutsu specialist. I want to learn some medical works because ninja get hurt, and it's ideal, but truthfully it is not something I wish to define me. Genjutsu though? Subtle, requires imagination, and with my previous life I certainly have more than a few things to draw on for inspiration. Alright, and what about in battle? Sure, there are some who won't be affected, so it is important I avoid the one-trick pony idea and spread myself out, but I could probably find a lot of ways to mess with people without draining my reserves. Look at that later. I'm apparently much better in close combat than I thought. If I keep working on that, especially as later versions of the U-style involve getting close, striking, getting out of counter-attack range, and then repeating, I will be more of a mid to close range fighter. Paired with Genjutsu, I'll have to brainstorm there a good bit. Back to my reserves, they are improving. Already they are bigger than they were, but I'll never be a chakra monster. That's fine, because if I get smart about how I fight, I should be able to chain my attacks and learn ones that aren't necessarily all S-class to be devastating. I need to focus on growing my reserves though, as some level of them are needed, or else I'll be a one-hit dead wonder. Also, on the dead topic, why are the Uchiha still alive? Weren't they supposed to all choke due to Danzo's stupid-headedness or something? Not my problem. I feel a little bad about that, but it is true. As the existence of Ko, my frenemyship with Neji, actually even my simple place in all of this proves that the story I knew is varied and not entirely accurate. There is no telling where else it deviates from the timeline I knew, and if so many events are even due to happen. With that in mind, I need to finally decide once and for all. I do not know what is coming and accept that. It is unnerving, as having a timeline, even as crazy as it was, to follow, is rather reassuring. You know to be somewhere or not, and to let that go, to trust that it will somehow work or be made to. Not as easy as it sounds like I am making it. I feel the air whooshing out of my lungs as I rub my eyes. Okay, so to recap for my own use, I am planning to be a mid to close range fighter with creative Genjutsu, ideally with large enough chakra reserves to make full use of my insane control. Probably mid-level by the time I am done, which will at least let me utilize jutsus like anyone else, even if I put enough thought into what and when to be an honorary Nara. This attack plan, I can work with. Now, how to go about increasing my reserves? I have physical training methods already planned out for me now, and both Ka-san and Granny have discussed sending me to distant cousins back in the land of iron once I graduate after a year or so to learn the higher levels they never did. Genjutsu training doesn't really happen until after graduation as well, besides the basics. I can study and at least make certain I have those down to the point I needn't think through them, but those are a year or two above my level still. I will leave that alone for the time being, but start writing down ideas for what I want when they strike me. It all comes back to chakra. The pen is being mauled by my teeth as I think through. There are actually a lot of ways to increase chakra. The best known are that you can increase your physical and mental energies, which creates chakra. You can practice with it, but those two ways more increase how much you can handle and control at a time. Not something I struggle with. It's essentially learning how to not rip your hands up with wire reins if your chakra is a wild horse you're breaking in. My crazy control is more like I was given a custom-fitted bit and bridle and special gloves with a horse that's already wanting to go along with whatever I would like. If my chakra is a wild animal, I'm the Disney princess that it just coos at. That is a creepy mental image. See, the problem is the size of my reserves. Ko has a Clydesdale, Neji has some freaking warhorse, Lee's forgot to even show up. I'm on a tiny circus pony. Resilient and stubborn and a bit nasty when it wants, for all it adores me and able to do tricks that the others couldn't even think of. So what I need to look up is how to increase the total size of your reserves. I know in the show it seemed that happened just by time and battles. It seems to be a combination because those who are older do not necessarily fight a lot like my Tusan, and they don't grow their reserves much. Yet those who fight don't always advance either. Look at the hordes of Genin and Chunin who never go anywhere career-wise but are always out running low-level missions. They do end up fighting. This means it's possibly the quality of fights. My memories are a lot hazier as I'm nearly 7, which if I go by my old years rather than the double years here, it's almost a decade and a half since I was born into this world. I know I've forgotten many things. Some things they'll whisper about in my memories, like I recall something called Dragon Ball Z and how the characters were always fighting. Something about how those that came closest to death were the ones who improved the most. There's a potential idea here. What if, like muscles being trained to exhaustion, no, you absolutely have to increase your stamina or strength to survive? That means all those times someone fights to the last bit, and yet lives, the body goes, oh, we need to now always have this much to spare to escape, because the body doesn't know you aren't using chakra to escape from a lion that wants to eat you. Leaning back in my chair, I frown, wrinkling my nose. What if that's why chakra exhaustion is railed against so much? Because in the early days, maybe even a holdover from Konoha's founding, shinobi purposefully went to that almost too far threshold since it would help them improve. A dangerous place to be in a time and career where a moment's weakness would mean death. Could it be like the idea of not going out with wet hair, a fable that had been twisted around so everyone stated it and knew it to be true even if it was actually flawed? What if going to chakra exhaustion would raise those reserve levels if almost full depletion was regularly hit upon? There would be risk of damage, of course. But how much of that is because in the past doing so was likely to get you killed, since you then had to recover before you could fight someone off? Now, Ko's Tusan often had me physically exhaust myself to use chakra to enhance things. Likely it was a training wheels method to start wearing oneself out, but never more than half under their supervision unless I did something stupid. Such as the infamous tag among the evil Koi, or fighting Neji, who was furious and hurt to the point he acknowledged my worth as a training dummy. But hey, that's practically Hyuga speak for acquaintance. I don't dislike both times there had been someone to observe me and take care of things. I doubted they had any interest in my exhausting myself, and certainly wouldn't wish for one of their precious own clan kids to get the idea, which means I needed someone who had eyes and was well skilled in them beyond Ko and Neji's use, and didn't like me enough that they'd let me hit near exhaustion even though it was a bad idea. Looks like I got to suck up to Ko. Oh, this was going to be awful. Did you bring it? Ko asked offhandedly as he led me deeper into the grounds outside of the Hyuga compound. Technically we were still in Hyuga territory, but these training grounds were much further in and meant for practicing survival and the likes, while safely away from those who may steal the eyes of the untrained. Yes, and in advance for next lesson as well. The bag was on my back, wrapped in towels, and other things were 2 bottles of plum wine. Go figure that Ko had a fondness for what I still remembered as my slutty college drink. He had been surprisingly easy to make a deal with, and of course, when he asked for each lesson to be paid in a bottle of the good wine, I had agreed with the caveat that my parents accepted it. I wasn't going to steal, not from my own clan. Luckily, when I explained to my Tusan what I was up to and I was even getting supervision from an older Hyuga, he agreed to the trade, as long as it was no more than once a week. I needed the time to refill my reserves after all, so this was the 4th session. Ko had stayed annoyed and distant with me, typical Hyuga indifference. But plum wine may have been cheap in my first life, it was not so much here. It was really more a sort of brandy than anything, and actually a higher quality than any I had ever consumed, but at my age it was a very fair trade for private tutoring from a Chunin with the Byakugan, and my Tusan had pledged to not bring it up to the rest of the family. We didn't need a repeat of Gramps sticking things all over me for his entertainment. One thing that was interesting with Ko being my sensei for now was how quiet we were. He didn't explain things to me because he would watch me, sometimes toss a jutsu or 7 my way. At times he'd close of my chakra points so I could adjust to flowing around them or forcibly reopening them. He'd spar with me, just barely holding back enough that I didn't stop in my motions. This was the goal, to entirely and completely go right up until exhaustion and stop precisely before it would have made me pass out. If need be, and it always was, he would physically restrain me so I couldn't waste any more chakra. I didn't need to hold anything back. There's something odd that happens when you know that you are fighting and training, because it may be the difference between life and death, and you also know someone will keep you from dying. You can pull out latent ferocity. Because I did not even like Ko and he did not me, we were also able to avoid that pitiful "I don't really want to hurt you" bit. Without descending into actual loathing, it just helped. This was pure business and cold. It was in this I was learning to temper my temperament. I was learning to have anger that was frigid, to think through it. Anger was a tool if you could direct it. My days vanished. It was a constant haze of different forms of training interspersed with sparkling moments with Lee, laughter with Kokuin and Sakura-chan. My cousins and Tenten were all fireflies in the dark expanse of hazy evenings that had become my drive to live. To do more and be more. The results took almost a year. A year of hard and painful work. Where my spars with Lee became more efficient, and training with my mother and grandmother was strict. Tenten was allowed to sometimes join, and though she was at a beginner's level in comparison, it did not deter her. I now had bells on my ankles and wrists, 2 longer locks that hit about collar level left out of my hair buns and with tiny bells braided in so every tinkling would let me know if I made a movement I had not intended to. Then I could utterly suppress the sounds with my chakra. Holding the clapper inside immobile without really thinking about it meant it did not drive everyone crazy. Sparring with Neji was the opposite of doing so with Lee, who was always joyous about testing himself. It was in our blood and we loved the battle. Kokuin and our training was playful and more about testing limits and creativity than anything more. With Neji it was still full of rage and hatred and in his own way determined to fight his fate, for all he spoke of being unable to go against it. Neji was sort of the poster child for denial, really. Ko was apathy. Each of them fought entirely differently. Aside from my studies, I began to feel the academy was almost holding me back. We weren't learning Genjutsu yet. My taijutsu in our class was only challenged by Neji and Lee, although Tenten always had a few surprises and almost always got in trouble for using weapons anyways. Tactics were fascinating, but my favorite thing to do was to find all the ways they could go wrong, which seemed to unnerve people. And then it happened. Our first Genjutsu lesson. It was meant to be a small thing, just a little bit here and some explanations, though they didn't really expect us to do anything creative or well for that matter. Even the Uchiha and the Hyuga rarely came up with anything of interest, especially on the first attempt, and so once they'd gloss over theory, they spent all their time casting gentle ones on us so we learned how to dispel them. Perhaps it was my chakra, but I could always sense the minute trickling as it would try and lay upon me. I didn't need to say kai, but I would, just to avoid the attention. It would slick over my skin like the white of a cracked egg, but then right off, as if I was Teflon. My chakra was so peculiar that unless I was nigh to exhaustion, Ko found out that the genjutsus would simply not take effect. He actually expressed approval of that bit. 2 days later, after my first bit of compliment on my frankly strange chakra, they taught us to cast a genjutsu. We were all told to think of something, just visual, as they didn't want us straining, and try one by one to put the class under it. We all had a signal that the teacher would give us, so we weren't expecting it to try and help us along. Until that point we were just to think, and practice the hand signs. Over and over and over. One day it was my turn. I'd done so much studying that I was ready for this. I was flat out cheating with my before to help out, but I knew that there were many senses. I was going for something simple, something I knew so intimately I could pull up memories and blanket everyone with them. Still, it had to, for that reason, not be something out of place like the seaside. Ideally something no one would question. The teacher was handing out papers and lightly tapped my hand as we were all working on our tests. My signal. Pulling my hands together. Aware that he'd already cast a genjutsu I was kept out of so no one saw my movements, I closed my eyes to focus. My hands formed the shape slowly. Carefully. I used each motion to build the illusion in my mind. Later we would need fewer hand signs, but at this early stage they would help us. I chose a common memory. I wanted this to work, and so subtle and not something they'd question was best. With the final hand seal I pushed my chakra out, picturing it as a soft, delicate current in the air everyone would breathe and have drape around them. I wanted it to be unnoticed, and so I knew it would be. The sun was warm, dappling in from the windows. It was quiet in the classroom, and there was a faint scent of sakura blossoms in the air because it was spring. The air was not yet cool, and soft chatter was going in as we waited for someone to come in and announce the special guest we were going to view. My chakra flittered out as my mind paused before I knew what to have happen next, but all around me there were confused expressions as the interlude cut off. My head felt funky from doing it and I groaned, rubbing my temples. "Exceptionally well done, Ziwei-chan," my teacher said softly. It worked. Wahaha, it's experimenting time. It turns out the reason genjutsu is almost never specialized in is the sheer amount of layering and willpower involved. You have to believe your illusions before you can toss them at another. It says a lot about those who delve into the eerie ones. You have to be rather crazy yourself to wrap all those around you, and luckily it comes about in an idle remark Tenten tells me as we are twisting into funny shapes in the backyard for our warm-up. Tenten's family runs a weapon shop, and the gossip she hears is sometimes priceless to our future as ninja. There's a random remark that apparently those who become known for disturbing genjutsu often have mandatory psych evals. It makes me rewrite some of the ones I was working on. It seems eerie is better. Something just uncanny enough to make people uncomfortable as opposed to terrifying. I'll save those for later, when as a ninja who has run into a few cases of things going downhill fast, playing a xylophone has supposedly provided the inspiration for those twisted genjutsu I want to make. So how is the mastering of the 4 types going, Tenten? I ask as I shift just a little further to pop my hip out. It burns. I have staffs, staves, bows, and sticks and separate hands down, she says happily. As a future weapons mistress, my distant cousin intends to be good at everything, but she rotates what she's delving into further. It keeps her very happy, and as a result she's teaching Lee and I anytime we will let her. Mastering is done by helping to teach others how to use something, after all. I rather like fighting with staffs, but Tenten has told me she thinks I'll take really well to halberds and pole arms, but she hasn't gotten there yet. I am totally not going to judge. Whatever the expert thinks I may do well with, I shall try. The afternoon passes in a hazy blend of stretching and chatting about weaponry and our year mates. It's sad that only Tenten and I are taking the art of the shinobi serious amongst all the girls in our class, of which there are easily over a dozen. Even the Uchiha Bradyheim, as I like to call her, Tenten always does this snort giggle, which is insanely cute on her, isn't really trying for anything beyond pride and bragging rights. Have you had the talk yet? Ugh. The baby or the hair one? She responds as we sit sipping cooled tea and enjoying the afternoon transition into twilight. We rarely get a day to spend together. Even if it has almost all been training, it is such a pleasure to be around Tenten. The hair one I think was actually worse. Don't I know it? Tenten ruffles her bangs, sparse as they are. Both of us wear the traditional hairstyle in the twin buns, though I have the long forelocks interwoven with bells now. She regards mine for a moment, and then sighs. I don't think I'll get bells before we graduate, since I started with weapons before agility. I nod back at her remark. It's true. In a way, we started on opposite ends of the spectrum and are trying to meet in the middle to pass along what we can to the other. It helps we have similar builds, both a little more solid, a little more broad of rib and shoulder and hip than most girls. It shows our heritage. The women of our clan are not prone to extensive curves but to lean solid forms. Our small waists will give an illusion of curves we won't have later on, and no doubt with training we shall have kunoichi physique. Neither of us expects to grow much, if anything, in the way of a bust, though, and privately have expressed that we are grateful for it. Because the less we have to bind, the less painful. Have you considered colors? I ask finally, curious if her talk was as traumatic as my own. I know Lee had it too because he was there with me, but I won't humiliate him. Not even to dear Tenten by recounting the expression and colors he made. Probably purple. I do red, but I think purple makes a fun contrast. She grins at me and her eyes sweep over my hair, and I smile back. I don't think brown would work for me. Her eyes dance, understanding I saw the reference of making us look more alike and favor it. You could do black. More likely then. I like the idea of black actually, subtle. People are less likely to ask about it for me. I make a sound and sip my tea. Essentially in the Yu clan we both have ancestors in. The males grow their hair long and braid it as my brother does. The women grow out their front locks between the forehead and the ears. Once it is past the level of the heart on both genders, they can color it. Coloring the hair shows that we are of age to consider partnership. There are casual relations amongst ninja, of course, but we Yu descendants are loyal and true and value that. If for reasons it cannot be done physically, there is no shame in it. Indeed, the family considers denying the body to be a falsehood as much as telling lies. It is the heart that is so valued. A girl colors her hair in accordance with her clan's tradition, showing she is unmatched. When she falls in love, she's to cut them off and present them as a sign of herself, one first to show affection. If returned when she has decided there is no other for her, she gifts the other. Her hair must be as long as her heart to gift, and if denied, she removes the color and waits until her hair is long enough before she can offer again. We can, of course, remove the offering hairs to show we are not accepting any, and then we cannot make such a proposition until it grows back out. You know, I asked my Oka-san about if it got cut in battle. Tenten remarks, with a soft sigh that shows she thinks the idea of hair and coloring and cutting it to show love as others would flowers just as silly as I do. She suggested I not allow anything to get that close. She actually told me I can't pull it up. Mine too. I grimace and shake my head. For an otherwise very forward-thinking group, how is it the Yu clan came up with such a silly ritual? Tenten shrugs and gives me a wry grin. How did they come up with Konoha? People are crazy amazing sometimes, but there's a lot of crazy involved. She's right, of course. I look at the slowly darkening sky though and hum. I think I'll cut mine off when I graduate. I feel my lips forming the words, but until now, since the talk, I hadn't told anyone this idea. Dedicate to your career for now? Tenten tilts her head and then I feel her bump my shoulder with hers, brown eyes meeting my gray with annoying grin to her lips. Let's do it. I laugh because she's so practical, but then Tenten is holding out her pinky for a swear and I catch it with my own. If I do find someone worth my locks though Tenten, you'll be the first I tell. Likewise. For just a moment we are two little girls and collapsing in giggles that has nothing to do with training or being ninja or anything. It feels really nice. I think I've been forgetting to actually live. Don't let me go so long lost in training again, okay? I ask her softly and Tenten nods. We both have that habit. We become entirely absorbed in what we are doing. It is in the blood. And then just because Tenten is trying so hard at everything and I think she deserves credit for how much improvement she has made since she started on the agility training, and I yank out a few strands of her hair from the buns and braid in a single bell off mine. You know your granny is going to kill you for that. I nod, my cheeks hurting from how large my smile is. It'll be worth it. Tenten shows she has that issue in her blood too as she tackles me in a hug, and we are found by Lee not long after, laughing on the ground still in an embrace. Lee wouldn't be Lee if he didn't join in. Ziwei. Yes, just my first name, curt and strict. It was highly impolite, but as I never said anything, neither did the Hyuga elders when Neji would call me out in such a way. What can I do for you? I turned from where I had been working on directing chakra into objects at a distance, under cups of all things that Ko would then try and detect which one I was enhancing. Without his eyes. It was a way for him to train his senses while resting the Byukigen. Come, sharing a shrug with Ko, I did just that. I knew Neji fairly well after as long beating each other up as we had. It was something of a ninja truism that if you really wished to understand someone you needed to fight them. Neji and I did that a lot, and I felt comfortable being alone with him. It said something he'd even use my first name without the sneer. It has been a while and is not being discussed. Translation: don't talk to anyone, even your family, about what I am going to say. Understood? Because if I told Neji to get on with it, I would likely never hear anything at all. He did that. I have some hope that my trolling nature is contagious, and I am melting the icicle up his backside as I did to Ko. Neji glances at me, and then swallows. He doesn't meet my eyes but instead is watching the movement of a leaf in the wind. When his voice starts again, it is so faint I have to draw near, almost touching our shoulders together. Over a year ago, an Uchiha snapped from the pressure of being assigned to A and BU too young, even though they always bend the rules and do so. As a result, they wiped out more than a third of the Uchiha clan. You are most likely going to be on a team with an Uchiha. I did not wish you to make things more difficult for yourself when that happens. I committed a huge sin and grabbed Neiji's sleeve to steady myself. That he allowed it, even placing his other hand to brace my elbow, and just waited, told me he was fully aware of the shock he had just used to disconnect my cerebral cortex from functioning. The Uchiha massacre had happened, but it didn't happen the same. Already? Throwing myself back on the training Granny had insisted on, I held my breath and let it out slowly. Even more carefully I refilled my lungs, all the way into my diaphragm, and felt my hands shaking. A third of the Uchiha were admitted to being gone. That meant it was the opposite, because ninja always skewed information so that in the eventuality of it leaking out, which it would on something like this, it would be spun to the best angle. The truth was undoubtedly that 2/3 were gone. The likelihood was any elders, active nin, perhaps any, but children and civilians, not all. The Yamanaka have been very busy. Neji murmured softly. I only realized at that moment how good the socially stunted Hyuga was at reading me. Must be all those spars of ours, so many. How? Neji shook his head. He started with his left though, which meant he didn't know. For some reason, when Neji was not telling something because he shouldn't, he always started the head shake from the right. Yet considering I knew that, it wasn't so surprising how easily he could read me. That in mind, I absolutely could not speculate. Because I knew no. I didn't dare think on what I had known before because I couldn't question or seem to know anything now. But the thing is, when you tell yourself not to think on something, that's all you can do, so I had to commit the really horrible plan that I knew I may need someday to avoid questions. I just honestly expected to use it on Ko. I focused on how pretty Neji is. He was right there, his hair shining in the light and pale eyes that drew your attention, and with long lashes that gave some actual depth to his gaze. His face was still young, we were children after all, but it had a pleasant structure and would be something striking when older. My eyes moved up to where I knew his seal was under the wrappings and then back down, along the high cheekbones, and just thinking all along, as I had not allowed my childish brain to do so before, that really Neji was uncommonly cute for a Hyuga. I could feel the blush starting even if the first sign was the drawing together of Neji's brows before he stiffened, and felt his fingers spasm in shock where they held my elbow. Pale eyes blowing wide in confusion, Neji got away from me as fast as he could, though not before I saw his ears turned a soft shell pink that was really not at all masculine and preciously suited him. That worked. I politely excused myself, the lingering traces of a blush visible to Hyuga eyes across my cheeks still as I left, and my unease and nervousness would be easily waved away as the coming onset of hormones, and not even blinked at. It was entirely worth it for people to think I had suddenly gotten an innocent crush on Neji. Even Neji himself, though I imagine I'd have to pull a few more tricks in our next spar because I had learned awkward Neji was a more brutal Neji the first time we had sparred after his apology. You know. The second time we'd ever sparred. But away from the compound I found a place to sit and put my head in my hands and groan. It was safe to freak out now. If by any chance I was observed, it would be put aside. Oh gods, what had changed with the Uchiha? Was it Shursui? Did Itachi actually kill them? Was it someone else entirely? Or even as Neji had said, just the stress of a promotion too young during peacetime? I had learned there were oodles of prodigies by living here. I was still narrowly avoiding the title myself, but the Hyuga knew. My clan knew. That meant probably at least 50 people unrelated to those two groups were aware, because that is just how it is in a society like this. The only thing I came to the conclusion of regarding the Uchiha, since Hizashi was still alive, and indeed proud of Neji and loved watching us spar since I existed, since coexisted, I needed to keep with the assumption I knew nothing, and what I did know would get me killed at the least, if not tortured and interrogated and ripped to a drooling creature first. Also, I needed to stay as far away from the Uchiha as I could. I was never so grateful that Ko had started to respond to me that fateful party back at the Yamanaka's as tots before this. It may have been the only thing that until now had kept me from running into the Uchiha clan besides the academy, because they just didn't mesh with the Hyuga. I could just feel the claws raking down my spine as if from a ghost. Metaphorically, of course, but somehow I knew that I wasn't escaping the Uchiha mess easily. Oh, Tobirama-sama, not good. I squeaked sharply and dodged as fast as I could, because there was a giant freaking fireball going in my direction. Adrenaline rushed through my body and I slammed chakra through every cell, picturing it making me faster and stronger and springing me out of the way as I pushed with my legs rather than just running. I still felt the heat beating against my back as I whirled, doing a sort of hop to keep from falling, bells jingling rapidly from the movements because I hadn't spared a trickle of chakra to silence them. I had just been walking in the more woodland park areas of Konoha. Inside the gates still nice and safe, why was there a fireball thrown at me? I had my hands curled up in a defensive posture and was looking around frantically. Surely no one was going to try to kidnap me or anything. I mean, the Lee clan was fantastic, but we were usually civilians, and no one knew about me. And whoa, nice dodge. Sorry about that, Sasuke-chan is a bit overenthusiastic. There was a boy right in front of me with a huge grin, and I hadn't even seen him move, he was just there. Only the sight of the headband kept me from screaming, but I did make a funny little eep sound. Apology not accepted. What if I hadn't gotten out of the way? You need to have warnings up. Yes, it was considered rude to not accept an apology, but if I didn't train as I did, there had been not a single chance I would have gotten away in time. I had training with Lee in our competitions and the sheer wickedness that was Hyuga tutoring to account for why I wasn't a very sooty color right now. Well, I mean, but you did, so no harm done. My chakra prickled and I moved again, to the side and facing two dark-haired boys a bit older than I was now. Ah? They both blinked at me, dark eyes and pale-faced and completely normal for around here. I thought nothing of it, though I really should have. I was too busy being irritated. Right. No harm done that you almost fried a student, or did you somehow tighten your headband too tight this morning, and so missed I don't have one? The very fact that their gazes were so heavy suddenly as they perused my forehead, neck, waist looking for the usual locations of the Konoha headband gave me my first clue. I am blaming the adrenaline for the obliviousness. Noted that I need to work on that. They did seem to shift posture slightly, ever so slightly uncomfortable though, with the information that it really was exceptionally lucky I got out of the way. There had been no warning save a quick fluctuation in my chakra, almost like it had been sentient before there had been fire right in my face. My apologies. Sasuke-chan, come apologize for your lack of aim. Now in my defense, there are a lot of people with the names here. I mean, in the before it sounded all exotic to hear Japanese names, but when you actually are in this weird hybrid society? I know of 7 Sasukes just in the civilian sector, and 2 more who are ninja. It's like calling someone Tyler. So whereas my name is a bit more like an Annalisa or Francesca, it's still not that uncommon. Lee's real name Raku is like the Esteban of this world, so I am completely blaming Tobirama for my resolve not a month ago to avoid all the Uchiha who are freaking so normal in their appearance without the swirly red eyes of overcompensating for no personality that they freaking glow in the dark, apparently according to Ko, whom I always believe about everything that I just almost got set on fire and partially surrounded by them, because only a year younger than I am and about my height. Then now in front of me was Sasuke, who, mind you, despite not losing all his clan, was still a broody looking little emo, or emu. Because that hair is way worse in person. I don't see why I should apologize. A real ninja should be aware of their surroundings. Oh, you little fuck. Which I start off with that butter wouldn't melt in my mouth tone that even Neji is quirking smiles at these days. Sarcasm exposure is good for Hyugas. Is why you are clearly a terrible one. Setting off a jutsu you have little to no control over in a location that is a public park as opposed to one of the training grounds means you are inviting the potential for untrained innocent civilians, which would land you with a fine, possible reparations to be made, and likely a black mark on your career, as well as those of any with you whom allowed you to have such an incident occur. Note to self, Uchiha turn a really funny puce color when you freak them out. As I've said before, there is precious little logic in the ninja world, and I don't just jump into that loophole but do horrible interpretive dance. On behalf of my Ototo, I apologize, Miss Ya. I have clearly been sassing off to Itachi and Speedy Gonzalez. There must be the infamous should be dead Shurshui. Someone up there really hates me. Probably Madara. I mean, I do go swearing on the Tobirama-sama bit, and didn't they absolutely hate each other? Without the bromance going on with the first and all. Still there is rude and then there is losing all your high ground and becoming interesting rude, so I cave. Lazy way. Oh crap, Shusui's heard of me? Hey yo, that girl that Minako is always complaining about in her class. Who? Yeah, that does not ring a bell. Unless we are talking before and then I just picture short sailor skirts and talking white cats. Yes, I like Sailor Moon as a tween. Bite me. Saturn was awesome. Uchiha Minako? I blink twice and then think carefully, yeah, there's only one Uchiha girl I have in my class. Oh, you mean Bradyheim. I never bothered to learn her name. She's loud and never talks about anything useful, so I ignore her. My filter has clearly taken a vacation. On the other hand, Shursui is cracking up and even Itachi is cracking a smile. Sasuke has his mouth open and just staring at me. You call Aniki's fangirl Bradyheim. I shrug then because of course Bradyheim is Itachi's fangirl, it's just too convenient, and dear lord that means the Uchiha have all heard of my antics in class. Well yeah, stop being friendly with the group of psychotic curse of hatred nutjobs, nope. No filter and the sass wants out. Crap, it's easier than remembering her name, and since her followers are just loud, annoying, and Brat calling her Bradyheim just reinforces that she's leading a really pathetic group that sucks in taijutsu. Worse in skills we study in class. I pause, actually thinking, tapping my temple. Actually, if I remember at all, the only thing the group is good in is kunoichi class, but I have to go on rumor for that one since I don't go. All girls go to kunoichi class. Itachi states calmly. Whoa, someone is like rulebook perv, isn't he? All he needs is glasses and a ruler, but I don't. I can learn to put on makeup and arrange flowers, or I can stay and learn tactics. Sensei gave up on the second day. Oh. Holy crud, Shursui said all that so fast I wasn't sure if he was doing like insane Santa or just remembering something. You're that one she said wasn't really a girl. No, I said I wasn't a girl for the duration of kunoichi lessons, which is different. Got me out of pointless classes. I'd say whatever was needed for that. Tactics is way more fun, and if I point out all the ways it's flawed in the mission we are studying, I can make Sensei dismiss us early for breakout of sheer frustration because I make certain I always use logic and potential possibilities so he can't give me detention. I think I'm sharing gossip with Shursui. I can hear my doomed Tobarama. Thank you very much, you can lay off the bells though. I forgot to mute them. Well, like Hades, am I doing anything to show chakra control in front of this group? I'd rather sound like some idiot's pet cat. So you lied. Whoa, Sasuke is so many shades of not impressed, he actually seems to be expressing something besides that he may have gas. Have I mentioned how very grateful I am that the Uchiha are not mind readers? Training to be a ninja, may as well get used to doing so. That's actually a good point. I'm not sure which of the older two said that. I'm more busy freaking out that there is no decent way to get out of this. No, there isn't. Why is it I've been resorting to dirty tricks so often lately? Well, the last thing I'm going to do is pretend to have a crush on an Uchiha. No thanks. Like my dignity in the current tattered state, no more damage need apply. It is a bit contrived that I look up and frown, but we aren't really that far if I keep going through the park to get to the Hyuga compound halfway between there and Uchiha if I recall right, and I grimace. I don't have tutoring today, but I have been promising to spar with Hinata more so she can work on her Byukugen. Apparently Ko has the biggest crush on her, so how he went and arranged that I have no idea. I'll drag it out of him later at one of our parties. Ziwei-chan? Shursui is waving a hand in front of my face, and I barely keep from snapping my own out to grab his wrist. I get this really bad feeling he and Itachi detected the muscle twitch though and knew. Because the odds they really are in ANBU already is about 50-50. I tilt my head then, the tinkling of bells only enhancing the I'm a cute little shit, and don't know anything. Ignore me. It almost always works on those who have fangirls. Apparently Shursui is completely immune to it because while Sasuke grimaces and looks like a toddler that needs a new diaper, Shursui doesn't. Crud. He has cuteness immunity. I was asking if you wanted to spar. It'd be good for Sasuke to spar against someone a year above him. There is sadly no polite way to go and run away screaming. I'm pretty positive they just grabbed me anyways. Another time maybe. I was on my way to spar with someone I already promised to. Who could be more important than sparring with one of the heirs of the Uchiha clan? Sasuke was sneering it at me. Itachi gave a tiny side look which I'm going to bet was in disapproval, but I dunno. He was a clan brat, and not a nice normal hard work makes you a good person sort like mine. Groaning, I rubbed my forehead. Really, there is no good way. I think that maybe the whole issue is the Uchiha are just impossible. I mean, so are the Hyuga, but I've kinda wormed my way into their graces, so I'm just biased. Ah well, Tobarama, go ahead and take my filter away, it can't make this any worse. Frankly, the first heir, not the second of the Hyuga. Yep. That was low. I even see Shursui flinch, but I meet the black eyes looking at me in disbelief. You are Itachi trails off because I am a purple-haired and purple little bell-riddled doll, and I know I look it, but I shrug. Don't look like much, do I? I grin at that because Mayaha, no I don't, more like a child's doll. Shursui agrees and my hand reacts before my brain and oops. Well, looky kitty is all sensitive. Shursui grins down at me where he has somehow made me turn when he grabbed my wrist and pulled me against his side as if we are best of friends. I just made to sweat at his arm because his stupid head is too high up, and yeah. Thanks Tobirama, I take it all back. You were only to work on my filter. If you call me that again I will hurt you. Yes, every bit non-threatening in this position, but I'm not joking. I do have some tricks. Doesn't look like you're much of a challenge. I suppose that's why you'd be sparring with that useless Hyuga girl, Sasuke drawls. Have I mentioned that I'm a protective little brat, and that seems to override my sense entirely? Because I am. It's a very bad thing. Very, very bad. I've seen it in Lee enough to know it's just a family trait. We are either nice and rational, or we get the stupid. No telling which will emerge in a situation either. So the fact I am entirely focused on how badly I want to be over there, and shove his stupid Inuimo face into the ground. Remember my chakra? My crazy creeps out even Hyuga chakra? Whoa. That's what a body flicker feels like. I'm blinking a bit dazed, and since I'm pretty well poochie screwed anyways, I just rubbed my ear between two fingers. Huh. Gotta remember how to do that. I'm guessing sitting on Sasuke's back with one hand on the back of his head so he's eating grass is definitely the reason Itachi and Shursui are now staring at me as if I have two heads. I'm going to die. But you know, if I live, I am so going to have Ko and Neji and all the eavesdropping Hyugas pass out from laughing when I tell about this. I blame the fact that Itachi and Shursui had no idea what to do when a still in the academy dolt like me had pulled that maneuver on Sasuke that I got out of there all right. Holding tight to that feeling of disorienting being everywhere at once, I chakra enhanced my limbs like the dickens, even though I felt my reserves depleting fast from the accidental teleportation jutsu to get out of there, and then took off, as only my family members can, at a dead run to the Hyuga compound. Do I regret revealing I am crazy chakra controlling weirdo to the Uchiha? Yes, I do. Am I upset that I made Inuimo eat grass when he was being a brat and insulted one of the sweetest girls I know besides Sakura-chan? One that I know has self-esteem issues? Nope. Not in the slightest. I suppose though it was really a fool's hope that I wouldn't end up grabbed and flung to the ground and pinned down just to be staring into red eyes. It was a hope. Poof, there it goes. What was that? Yeah, you know, I always thought Itachi was the one to fear, not Shursui. But it's Shursui who grabbed me and has me pinned, and he's the one whose Sharingan I'm facing now. There's nothing of the playful goof left here anymore, just serious and solemn and screaming danger out of every pore, to the point I can't believe my ears aren't hearing this. No control over it, and he made me mad insulting Hinata. I have no idea if the Sharingan creepy I can detect lies as the Byakugan can, but I'm just going to assume so. Besides, having someone older keeping me pinned down keeps one from saying anything that may result in further bruising. Try again. There's an inflection though that tells me he can detect I'm not lying about the control thing. Yay for speaking Hyuga, meaning I can understand the dialect of Uchiha. May I live long enough to put this to use in the future. Only you know, without running into the Uchiha. Ever. Sighing, I give him a pout. You're heavy. He doesn't move. Come on, it was worth a shot. I have weird chakra, and when I want something bad enough it just reacts. I hate that I'm saying this. I really do, but you know, Uchiha can murder their whole clan. I don't put it past them to dispose of and hide my body so no one ever knows I'm gone, and that would devastate Lee. I've been going to the Hyuga for help training it for years now, but they're still trying to help me understand it. Red eyes are slowly spinning, like the pinwheels they are named for, as he watches me. Then he's off me and helping me up by just picking me up and setting me down as though I don't weigh a thing. If that's a power ploy, it is working, and it frankly has me freaked out. Shursui Uchiha is not someone to mess with. I'm learning that way too late. Tobirama obviously decided I was on my own because he hated Uchiha. So what were you thinking before you planted my baby cousin into the ground? He's only a year younger than I am, I huff, but I give him a wary look. He's still got red eyes. You would think all this time of seeing white, off-white, extra white, silvery white, pale as freaking everything, pale lavender, snow, ivory, eggshell, cream puff filling, ecru etc. eyes that should be blind, the red wouldn't faze me. It does. That no one should talk about Hinata like that, and I wanted to be over there shoving his face into the ground. I am doing my best to not sound petulant, but I am pretty sure I am failing, and it just works. His tone is still flat. Still dangerous. I can feel the kunai against my throat even though he isn't holding one, because that is just how his voice works. May I point out though that I am far more freaked out that Shursui grasped the concept of what I was saying that fast? Wasn't Itachi supposedly the genius? Every time Shursui's eyes are locked on mine. I'll keep an eye on you. He's gone as if I had imagined the whole thing, and there is no reason that wasn't a genjutsu except I can feel the bruises, and I swallow hard. Oh fu *k. I want my twin. I have zero shame in admitting I practically run to my home. Hyugas are forgotten. I'm in no shape to spar like this. This sort of panic means only one thing. I need my twin, because even his craziness is my sanity. Lee says nothing when I leap over our backyard wall and collide with him in the middle of his katas. He just clasps me close and holds tight while I shake and pulls me to sit on the ground so he can hug me better. Because that is the sort of person Lee is. My eyes are clenched tight, and my arms as snug around his waist as I can get them as my face hides in his shoulder. His hands hold me tight enough I'm sure I'll bruise, and I don't care as he says nothing. We are twins, and despite our differences and different interests there is nothing that can make us forget this. We have a bond so deep it reaches into my soul and scours me of most of before because when faced with Lee, it doesn't matter. The only reason before matters is because maybe it will help me survive and help Lee, and that's all. I'm selfish and I don't care, because whomever I was before? I didn't deserve Lee, but now that I have him I will not let go. We stay there for a long time in that hold, either of us moving. Finally I look up and gray eyes meets black and I sigh. I don't tell him I'm scared, Lee can tell. I don't tell him I'm worried because he will already know. I had a less than pleasant run-in with the Uchiha. Lee just nods once and then without effort scoops me up to take us inside. We have a better chance of privacy in one of our rooms than outdoors, even though someone could still easily observe or eavesdrop. It is the thought that counts in this situation, and I am so grateful for it. I don't censor as I share everything, except the names because I shouldn't know any but Sasuke's. Lee informs me it's probably Itachi and Shursui because they have reputations, and then proceeds to rub camphor and menthol-infused wax into my skin where the bruises will be. Yes, we have a variation of Tiger's Balm. It's amazing because it interacts with chakra, even for those that civilians or the chakra coil deformed have. Much to my surprise, and I admit I'm rather touched because Lee being the big brother twin is rare and adorable. He sneaks out late that night when I'm sitting with Ka-san and Granny and goes to speak to Ko. When he returns home he just smiles at me. The Hyuga will take care of things. I don't ask for details. I'll learn about them in time. For now, I'm happy to sit Lee before me and comb out his hair to do his braid, and let him do my buns in return. Because it's really nice to let someone else handle something for once. And when that night I wake up in a panic from nightmares with red eyes, he goes all octopus and makes it better. Well, except for where my oxygen is fading. Lee, stop smothering me. I'm not smothering you, I'm loving you, you dork. Love you too. Lee was the one who politely excused us from training more than just the morning from our family. It was just my luck the day after my literal run-in with the Uchiha trio was one of the starts to an extended weekend. When something truly struck Lee as important he would become entirely silent and focused. That is how he was now. He'd even gone and brought out my more formal attire from the clan collection, and this time there was a method to it that kept making me open my mouth, then close it again without saying anything. It was my twin who had gone and talked to the Hyuga last night. Whatever they had told him, this was clearly part of it, and so I firmly took my curiosity and concern and shoved it where my Tobirama forsaken good sense had disappeared to yesterday. It didn't make it any less weird to have Lee being so formal and stiff as we walked to the Hyuga compound, for once not in complementary and opposite shades but identical. We were resplendent in silver. These were the good garments, the ones saved for very auspicious occasions for children and not even brought out for festivals. These were what we would have worn if we graduated with honors or apprenticed to someone important. These were the formal, almost ceremonial wear for the Lee clan. It was the equivalent of wearing a designer gown and suit. I'm going to have trouble keeping my mouth shut, aren't I? I muttered to Lee as we walked. He took my hand though, but there was no smile. Not this time, but his eyes were so dark and serious and strong because whatever was going on Lee always trusted in the best. Right down to knowing I could do this and I could read it all in one serious nod and eyes covered in long, long lashes. You look beautiful, Nei-chan. It was soft, gentle, and for some reason that more than any platitudes and silly phrases Lee could have screamed and challenged with to get a rise out of our blood. That simple compliment let me feel like I could do this. Whatever this was, and you're powerfully handsome. He was too, and there was that tiny smile. Wearing softly gleaming fabric that shimmered as we walked, Lee looked every bit the mystical warrior from grandfather's stories. His braid had threads of silver woven in, wires that could be used in a situation, and he had as much as I did my bells. His would weigh him down. He wore wires in various places to chafe and toughen skin and work as early weights. Today, though, it was just the thick additions to his plaited hair as much as mine were the interwoven bells in my forelocks. We said nothing else, but Lee was holding my hand as we entered the Hyuga compound, and neither of us were ashamed to be seen doing so. Ko seemed to just step out of nowhere, and not hesitating at my being beside my twin ducked his head in by both of us to whisper, knowing Lee didn't have the advantage of understanding Hyugas as I did. They were laughing hard enough to actually choke last night when Lee-san told them everything. Ziwei-chan. It's fine, you're wonderful. I blurted out, and Ko gave me a smug little smile, having correctly guessed I would be nervous. Lee-san did the right thing coming straight to me and my Ota-san. Come, I'll take you to Hayashi-sama and the elders. The entire compound is observing, so don't be nervous. Ah, so many? Lee sounded hesitant, and I leaned over to whisper in his ear, in the dialogue that had come from our mother's side that only a few of us and Tenten spoke. We just apparently had accents like angry pigs with our mouths full of a potato if Granny was to be believed. They are horrible gossips. They love to eavesdrop. It's a good thing. Lee's shoulders straightened and he nodded as we walked without another word. It was really strange. Not following Ko, that was normal, but the fact that we had two guard Hyuga behind us, and the closer we got to the formal meeting room I swear the more joined us. We were silver in a sea of gray and beige. Yeah. Let's play a game. Spot the indigoette. Purpleette? What would you use to describe my peculiar plum-hued locks anyways? At ease, children? Hayashi stated as we kneeled before him. The biggest downside was not that this was uncomfortable. No, with our crazy grandparents, kneeling was far below what we deemed uncomfortable. Unless Granny was in one of her moods, then somehow she would find a way, but it was making me let go of Lee. I wanted my security blanket of a twin. Thank you very much, Hayashi and Hizashi-sama. Hyuga-sama, I bowed before kneeling, greeting all the massive elders there and other Hyuga in one fell swoop. Lee copied me. Technically not polite, especially because Hizashi is branch house, but he's Hayashi's twin, so I always call him that. It amuses the ever-loving dickens out of the branch members. At this stage they knew they were lucky I was still behaving because I was clearly nervous, and that made me do things. Hey, yeah? That's what got me in this mess, and here in the first place. Well, let us start off by easing your mind and assuring you that this August council has not laughed so greatly in a long time. One of the elders began, and oh, you could smell the smug. Smug has a bad stench to it. The room just then? I think I was going to be reeking of smugness for a while, and it wasn't even mine. Kosen, you may explain since you brought the incident to our attention, Hayashi said, and I detected the slightest uplift of his voice at the end. He was clearly hiding laughter. No wonder he wanted my friend to explain. Also, needless to say, with the insanity I bring up, they've since resigned to just making Ko explain to me in simple ways what is going on. Or as that famous old proverb goes, if you can explain it to a child you understand, you are technically only a civilian. Being an academy student without a prominent ninja clan background, which Lee clan is mostly civilian and sometimes low-ranking nin. Totally accepted, and they all drink what we produce anyways, so not a slight. There was certainly no reason to suspect you could have been able to dodge the attack in a public setting where they should not have been practicing regardless. That the youngest Uchiha heir lost control to the level he did and not one of them thought to warn you or get you out of the way speaks that he greatly lost control, far more than they were willing to admit in the exchange. To be certain we have the story correct, if you could repeat it, simple in a Hyuga fashion. Crazy smug group. They grow on you though. Also, the end of that was a blatant please let us know there's more juicy details to this story, Hyugas. So fully aware that Lee was confused as to why I suddenly was animatedly getting into the story, complete with hand motions, sound effects, and my uncensored thoughts. Uncensored. Yes. Like they aren't entirely used to them. All I do is leave out my knowledge I shouldn't have, but the comments on Sash's emu hair, though I have to call it chicken because I don't even know if there are emu or ostrich around here, has a few twitching their lips. The part where I announced to them how utterly stupid they had been made many heads nod approvingly, agreeing with how I stated the logic, praying that Tobarama-sama would block me from saying something I shouldn't, got a few snorts out of them. I even hear one person mutter futile. They are used to my petitions to the second Hokage, and I think it's something of a running gag that they've even been trying to find any stories I haven't heard about some of the stupid things the second did when no one was aware. There aren't many, but it makes them smile because everyone always thinks of him as the serious person. After the war, though, he was a man, and humor reminded him of the brother he lost, so it wasn't that surprising he'd seek it out. Lee was chuckling and shaking his head beside me, occasionally slapping his hands over his mouth as he laughed. Because he knew that I probably was going to make this worse even as I went on. Twin. He gets me. The entire joviality of the room plummeted when I explained Sasuke's insult to Hinata. Even Hinata made a tiny squeak of embarrassment hearing his remark, which I did not censor. Lee hadn't picked up on that, so this was new information, and one could just sense the rapid making and discarding of plans occurring behind those pale orbs all over. Even the ones cheating with the veiny eyes to look in on the room. I tried using my hands to explain the pressure, not pressure, I felt, and the displacement as I used the body flicker, and that it ended with my making the younger Uchiha eat grass under my form, and that paired with my remark about how it was going to get at least a few Hyuga to snort if they didn't kill me, resulted in a few outright laughing and a lot of smug smirks. Hinata was smiling and blushing shyly, but that's just what she does. I don't care, she's not really a friend, but she is in the sense we spar together and don't talk, and sometimes that's what you need in a friend. Ko hands me a glass of water and I take a drink before I set it down and close my eyes. The fact I'm doing this and taking a deep breath has everyone paying attention again. They knew from Lee I'd been threatened and scared. I hadn't been really thinking though, and after the night, the reality of what I'd gotten into had set in, and I took comfort. Obviously by damning any sense of proprietary behavior and bravado as I grabbed Lee's hand before meeting Hayashi's eyes. Hayashi is a hard man to please. He's brutal to Hinata, but so is Hizashi to Neji, and I think it's just how they were trained. I mean, Ko's a jerk too, and their father probably is, so I think it's just something in the older generation to an old clan. The thing is though, as hard and icicle-souled as he is, Hayashi lets me come here. He lets me play with Ko in our fashion, he lets me spar with Hinata and Neji. He allows my behavior and coming and goings. In his own way he recognizes I'm a friend to these children, and he does his best to let us be, and only reprimanding our behavior when to look the other way would not be thought well of otherwise. So while I have a healthy blend of fearful respect for this man, I also know that because of these ties I am safe here. I tell them of my running, of my being pinned and the threats, of the red eyes, and I shiver remembering the whirling form and how it seemed to look through me as if to take me apart and decide if I was worth the trouble of ending. And then I waited. You have seen the truth of what a skilled ninja always has within. To meet that, off the battlefield, is a luxury that you need to never forget, Ziwei-san. Hayashi says calmly, and I bow my head. Especially there is a shift in the air, and it's odd how chakra can almost buzz along your nerves to alert you to what a room is feeling. Or maybe that's just my weird chakra again. Because once glimpsed you know that every engagement you have is another ninja who will view you just that way. Take from this experience that knowledge and do your best to ensure you are never in that situation, allowing another to decide if you continue again. It was good advice actually. A direction to take the fear that wouldn't let it cripple me. That being said, the insults heaped upon you and thus directly and indirectly upon the clan are much higher than we had originally thought. The idea before you related this tale was to send one of our own on your behalf to demand suitable compensation, or an apology. In light of all of this, the consequences for the Uchiha are much higher. Pardon me? Lee spoke up into the lull and Hisashi nodded. Lee was confused and my head was spinning. Why is it so much higher? If it is the insult just to Hinata-sama and Lee, oh my adorable brother, he sent the biggest smile beaming at the shy girl who just smiled back. Lee was good with the shy ones when they knew him. Why would this involve Zichan further? Because she is under my tutelage. Ko's father spoke up softly. As well as a frequent guest here to spar with my son, the heiress, and Hisashi-sama's nephew. Actually, Ota-san Ko moved forward, bowing to his father after prostrating to the clan head and elders. For the past few months, Ziwei-san has been meeting with me in the corner training ground in our compound to work on pushing her chakra to almost exhaustion levels under my observation. So she has also been under my tutelage. Huh. The way the clan just paid attention. Was Ko actually someone important to the clan? You neglected to tell us that is what you were doing with the days off you had from guarding my heiress. Well, he's still a jerk. It is hardly difficult for me, and in the passing of time Ziwei-san has raised her chakra reserves sufficiently to no longer be on the lower end of things. Because of her unique chakra workings she can go far beyond levels one should, when brushing against chakra exhaustion. I have been taking careful notes. We are getting off track. One of the elders interjects, but like they aren't all excited that they're using me to rewrite what they know of chakra exhaustion. Not complaining, keep giving me free training the sort I couldn't get otherwise, and I'll let them take all the notes they want. Indeed. This means there are multiple claims the Hyuga have Anna confirmed if not openly spoken of prodigy under our tutelage, and our right to claim much of her future skills stemming from our aid. She is clearly under the Hyuga clan's protection and is afforded at least the level of respect from a foreign clan as one of our own lesser branch members. Say what? Close your mouth, Zichan. Kokuin mumbles. I do. I can feel chakra wriggling in laughter. Great Tobarama, I mumble, and this time I definitely feel laughter. But seriously, okay, I get it. Think of all the bragging rights Jiraiya gets that his genius student was Minato, and all the ones who helped Naruto later on. The prodigies always are linked back to those who teach them, so that this early on the Hyuga have been such a huge help. Admittedly, my skill is equally from my own family because of our fighting and agility training and the utterly insane work ethic, but Lee clan isn't as well known. I'll always have the title of trained under the Hyuga follow me, and it is not a bad thing at all. This is part of why I realized over the years they keep letting come back. Because they get to say they knew I'd be important and a great fighter first. Bragging right means a lot to ninja, but still, being an honorary lower branch ninja? Wait, prodigy female still sounds like pay me in cows. I'm not going to get married off as an apology, right? And yes, that comes out hysterical, and Lee's squawk is so not dignified, and the Hyuga are openly chuckling. It would not be amiss to demand such a high price on your behalf, but considering the interaction, I rather doubt you'd wish any of the three who caused you so much trouble to be in such a position. Hayashi asks, and I swear he's hiding a smirk. I bet he was a troll as a kid. No! I wave my hands frantically. Nope. I can do without the glowy red eyes of overcompensation and the ego issues and the smug and the. But Zichan Hisashi chimes in, and he isn't hiding in his tone of voice. Direct contrast to the deadpan face is eerie that he finds my outburst freaking hilarious. You'd be wedding into a prestigious clan, not interested. I'd rather marry Neji. At least his ego and arrogance has a reason because he's insane to fight. Oh. I said that out loud. Lee is stammering and Neji is bright red and glaring at me, but he has a smug smirk, and I just groan. Really, you know, I am so lucky the Hyuga find me entertaining. Can we forget I said that? No. I'm not sure which Hyuga said it, but I'm sure he spoke for them all. At least wait until I am a jounin before giving me relationship advice. I blurt out, and Lee gives me a funny look. I thought you were going to cut your hair and focus on being a ninja. I am, rhetorical, I understand. What does your hair have to do with this? Kokuin blurts out, and it says something that the Hyuga have been forced to express emotion and are probably just as curious that no one tries to get the conversation back on track. Short version is where Okasan is from. The boys wear their hair in a braid. I point to Lee, who pulls his long braid in front. The girls the buns, and my slang term I know deserves an eye roll. We also grow out our forelocks and color it when we're of age. There's a whole complicated bit about not getting it cut off in battle and gifting your hair to one you love, but if you cut it off yourself it means you aren't interested and focusing on other things for the time. Tenten and I both plan to cut them and focus on our careers. Ko is a jerk. So that means once you have achieved jounin you are not amiss to the Hyuga clan giving input on whom you consider? He's grinning, Because he's a jerk and yet he's got a sense of humor. It just is summed up in at your and Ko's expense. I'll take it under advisement. If I trust you all with my life and my chakra training, I think I better listen to your opinions on company I choose to keep. I mean it too, and there's an amused few glances going to Neji, per Neji. Sorry dude, I didn't mean to fake a crush on you, but I kinda needed it then, and yeah. You don't know this, but I won't hold you to anything. You're on your own with your dad's teasing though. The interactions clearly had a point though, and I've since calmed down. The elders start to speak more with each other, and the clan giving opinions as Lee and I just sit there. Someone takes pity on us and dismisses the dozen of us younger kids to go get and serve the snacks and talk amongst ourselves. Thank you? Hinata stutters out softly to me and I can't help but smile at her. Anytime. I mean it, I do. Hinata just nods and smiles before moving back, and Neji sighs, having snuck up on me. You're far too much trouble. I seem to recall you saying that when we introduced ourselves. Of course I was correct in my prediction. Yeah. So tell me. Ko has moved over to listen, but I'm not feeling snarky right now. I'm still too nervous to eat the snacks and glance up at Neji. What do you think is going to be happening from all this? Oh, that's easy. It sneered at me, but you know, that's just how Neji is. I definitely prefer Ko, but I suppose it's hard for Neji to be the genius around so many regular kids. And I'm just a troll, so no help there. Explain to the rest of us. Ko asks calmly while he stands beside me, nudging my shoulder with his. Ziwei-san is going to go with the majority of the elders and Hayashi-sama to meet with the Uchiha before they can attempt to craft an apology and write it off. They'll go later, no doubt, because of that, and all Ziwei will do is sit there and stay silent while they negotiate. There will be a lot of careful insults, probably a hefty fine deposited for her troubles and also for the slight to Hinata, and no doubt a slap on the wrist of the little Uchiha. Any further discipline will not involve us, but they will feel they owe the Hyuga and Ziwei-san in particular. I really don't want any further attention from Shursui. I mumble. It's one of the smarter reactions you've had. Neji agrees. His words are anything but comfortable. However, I know I was curious and determined to know how far I could push you. I imagine he shall be the same. That is not going to relax her at all, Neji-kun. Ko sighs and shakes his head. It isn't meant to. I get it. I whisper, and I do. Lee is off talking to Hinata and a few of the others, though he constantly glances over at me. He knows I am safe with my friend and sparring partner, and that sometimes I need space. He's always right there though, and I know if I were to start reacting badly he would be beside me in a heartbeat. Oh? That's Ko. And Ko is a Hyuga, but I think Neji is a whole other level of crazy that I get because this isn't my first go around, and so my brain is capable of comprehending things most children aren't. It just usually chooses to focus on trolling and being a brat, but it can work. Better to be prepared. I mumble and I look up at Neji, who inclines his head. He gets that I know what he really meant. He tolerated me even when he was bristling all those time because I confused him. I didn't make sense. Even now when he knows I do not make sense, he loves trying to find new ways to push me in our spars. Because I will never react and do things with my chakra anyone else will. To a truly serious prodigal shinobi, that's something to covet. He's warning me that if Shursui starts to realize my capabilities, as he and many of the Hyuga have, that it can go two ways. Anger and antagonizing or not. Neji himself has done both. Neji never scared me. Shursui? I didn't know much about Shursui before except that he died and gave up an eye, and it was part of the Danzo everybody is crazy bit. I thought Itachi was the genius, the one to be scared of. But Itachi, one thing I think even casual Naruto fans knew was that it turned out Itachi loved his brother and his village and was a pacifist. Shursui? Shursui is not a pacifist. That makes him so much more dangerous. Will you be fine going alone? Neji doesn't seem too worried about his question as he stares into his rice ball as if it has the answers like a magic 8-ball, that he'd never understand if I asked if it said yes, no, or not at this time. I'm not fine going at all. I sigh, but there's a resigned tone to it. It'll happen, and at least if it must, I'll be with the Hyuga. Don't do something and end up returning with a betrothal offer. Neji snaps out suddenly, and I'm giving him a confused expression that I can feel pulling at my face in an ugly fashion. Did you miss the whole part about not interested? If you become too interesting, that won't matter. Neji scowls. Don't read anything into what I'm saying either. Huh, oh right. Crush. Thingy. Yeah, but I don't really have one, so I just let it go. Let them think I've already lost it. Frankly, Neji's attitude makes for good sparring friend, but horrible to consider long term, and again, I'm not even of age to graduate. Creeps me out when people put children together and plan their lives. Just know. Let me at least survive to get a gray hair first. Or boobs. Please don't let me be a Tsunade type. Gods, that would hurt. Running with those things? It turns out we do go shortly after we have snacks. My guess is that is so no one is hungry or thirsty, and we can politely only pretend to take advantage of the Uchiha's hospitality. Very likely it was all for my benefit, as I am a kid and shouldn't already be thinking my hosts may be trying to poison me. I'm not complaining. Lee promises to wait for me at the compound and seems determined to find out why I like sparring with Neji, who has to this point pretended my sibling doesn't exist. Hey, bonding by bruises is a good thing. By the time I'm back, I expect Neji still won't talk to Lee but will at least look at him. Because Lee is a powerful foe already, and he fights in a way I don't, and it will give Neji a nice counterbalance to me. He'll still wipe the floor with him, but like me, I expect my brother to get a few really good hits in. Ko's already promised to let Lee borrow one of his outfits so the silver one stays nice. The reason we are in silver and not the beautiful deep purple I would usually have worn? Because of course we have the formal purple kapao. It makes sense then as I'm walking in tiny steps along the sea of Hyuga in their formal white and gray kimono. Austerity is their hallmark, and by contrast with the simple and plain garments my walking just behind the clan head and elders, beside Hizashi with a row of main and branch keeping guards at our back. My formal garment with the shimmering fabric almost seems to show solidarity while making me stand out as much as my purple hair. The chiming of my bells is the only sound we make, and Hizashi had let me know not to muffle them. I think I'm being put on display here, people, like a delicate doll, and thankfully not the only female. I'm surrounded on all sides by a wall of Hyuga as we stroll through Konoha going to the Uchiha compound. Long before we arrive the gossip will have paved our way, Hizashi is assuring me, and it's part of why I'm in nearly the middle by his side. Only faint glimpses unless far above will show a flash of brightness and color between their forms. They will not know for certain I am among them. It will put the Uchiha off balance. My first thought when we are greeted at the entrance to the Uchiha compound is that if this is them being off balance, what I saw on Itachi, Sasuke, and Shursui was more like blind panic. The faint prickle along my nerves alerting me to the state of their chakra is my only sign that the Uchiha are wary. Well, that and how they are unerringly pinpointing where I am. And I thought having so many white eyes locked upon me was eerie. Black ones that want to be red? Much worse. There's not a sound made, barely even any greetings between the elders and what must be Fugaku. I keep my eyes downcast as the whole way over Hizashi's been coaching me. He knows I have an issue keeping my mouth shut, so he's been assuring me of little things I can do. That I do not need to speak, that even if it is directed at me that he and the others will speak for me. I am just going to listen and observe. Right, it starts off simply. There's a lot of talking and even more not talking. It's uncomfortable and serious, and there are such levels of interplay happening here. The weirdest part is these Hyuga bear no resemblance to the ones I know. Not here among the Uchiha, they are every bit as stiff and formal with all traces of warmth scoured away. Their chakra is locked up tight like snarling dogs whose owners have a firm grasp upon their collars as much as they'd love to let them loose. I am not permitted to hide in the middle. No, as a person of interest I am seated between Hayashi and Hizashi and the elders fanned out along us, all the others at our backs. I don't look up at all, not even through my lashes, because I do not know if they would risk a Genjutsu or a Sharingan or anything, but also my very act of trusting the Hyuga entirely with my safety because I cannot see if an attack is coming is a statement all in itself. The story is retold by Hizashi. All the humor, my intricate explanations are boiled down to the most bare of details. It still does not sound flattering or even tolerable on behalf of the Uchiha. When my utilizing the body flicker is mentioned though, there is an unbearably heavy sensation of regard. I want to lean into Hizashi or Hayashi and tuck myself away from the eyes I can feel because these Uchiha are every bit as scary as I'd heard. You don't get it in the manga or the anime, but there's something just off with these adult Uchiha. It's like they are all slightly askew and can be driven to feats of insanity and great devastation. I hate to say it, but I can see why they tend to go off the deep end in what they perceive as right. For the briefest of moments, I know what it would have been like if I had gone to them instead of Ko and the Hyuga. I would have been lucky if Danzo had found me, because either way I would just be a tool. The Uchiha do not have room in their minds for anything exceptional that is not their due, that does not fit their vision. Their bodies and minds are still bred from the stock that dominated the battlefield before Konoha was founded, and it has not wavered in the slightest. The Hyuga are not wonderful. They enslave each other, they have many things they do that are not forgivable, but little by little they try. Is it far too little? Yes. But the next generation, our generation of Hyuga, is going to be amazing. Hinata and Hinabi, Neji, Ko, and maybe even Ko and a half dozen of their relatives I have met. They've lived in the peacetime and have ideals those who did not have such a luxury could not, and their elders for all they coach and warn them allow them to try and flourish as long as they can still meet the standards. Just in case, the Uchiha I do not sense any of this same demeanor. To them it is as it always has been and so shall remain. It makes what I did all the more dangerous. I understand then why the Hyuga are making it so very obvious I belong to them. I would be missed. The majority of the meeting passes over my head and there is plenty of times they say something that I want to respond to so dearly, but I don't. Indeed, Hizashi had suggested I lose myself in thought. I try. At one point I do very nearly react because I hear the words contract, and I just decide I could not have possibly heard that, and use my chakra to block my sense of hearing. It works. No one reacts, so I guess it took so little no one sensed it at all. It's weird though, only hearing the sound of my own airways expanding or the beat of my pulse. I unblock it after I feel almost sleepy and then block again later. I alternate doing this many times to get through the meeting. Look at that, I found a new form of meditation. I call it, ignore the boring elder people. With assistance, I'm fighting the urge. It's the urge to do something stupid. The sort that makes Lee and I challenge each other, that makes me blurt out stupid things. It happens when I am bored or restless, and I am currently both. We leave before that happens. Another bow, a slight shifting of the ranks as I go to be swallowed up by everyone, and a pair of glowing red eyes lock onto mine from the shadows before they're hidden by a Hyuga moving. So fast I couldn't even see at this distance the pattern, and I don't know who it was. But I know now, there is at least one Uchiha who is going to be watching me, and this time I literally didn't do anything but sit there and look pretty. I even kept my mouth shut. Freaking Tobirama. Those red eyes have given me goosebumps. By the time we leave the Uchihas, it is still only late afternoon. Once more I find myself surrounded to hide me away in the center of the group. This time, however, beside me walk two of the women who are in the group, and as much as I really do like Hizashi's talking, my head hurts and the quiet serenity the women are putting out is making me at ease. They do not have the telltale eyes, married into the clan, but the dark hair is worn long and the attire blends in. I swear I feel antsy. The walk back to the compound is filled with soft whispers of fabric but no actual conversation. Only once we are inside and secured with groups of Hyuga peeling off to go elsewhere, likely to gossip over the events I was not paying attention to, do I get whisked off by Hayashi and Hizashi and the oldest Hyuga I have ever seen. It's the same study as when years ago they were talking to me, and I first met Neji. Being back in this room is peculiar. How many studies do these guys have? Also, why isn't Ko's father in here this time? Perhaps he stayed behind and wasn't even in the group we took. I half suspect the entire clan would have liked to be present, but it's not exactly possible. Ziwei-chan, do you wish to know what was decided? Hizashi asks softly, and I look up, meeting his gaze. He seems as serene and composed as ever, and I didn't realize we'd actually sat down. I think my brain has gone numb. It wants my body to move. Honestly, no. Unless it is something I really need to know, I'd like to not turn myself inside out trying to understand all your double and triple speak with particular inside clan terms. I know I have no head for politics, and I trust all of you. Hyugas don't smile often, but when they do it's quite awe-inspiring. Seriously, they have pretty genetics, as a lot of them, and their hair is insanely perfect. The three of them visibly relax and nod. Bet Tobirama 5 minutes of sanity that they pulled something they don't want to admit to. Wait, with how he's been lately, I take that back. I can still take it back, right? Indeed, aside from an amount that shall be made available to you upon graduation, the rest is mostly details about how they need to approach you with the respect one so affiliated with our clan deserves. Later on, and only later on, there are other details, but before you panic. Hayashi says with his hand up. I shut my mouth. Gang, do they know me or what? None of it involved betrothals or offers. I did hear contract at one point. Sneaky thing, aren't you? I didn't even see you jump at that. Hizashi mumbles softly and I grin at him. Most the time Hizashi is formal, but he has his moments. Comes with regular black and blue fights with his son, I guess, and I just know Hizashi is entertained at the idea I supposedly have a crush on Neji. Such a proud daddy, isn't he? Frankly, the amount of humor I'm guaranteed for that one does mean I'll let it last for a while. The rumors, that is. Neji's still too strict and severe for my tastes even when we get older. Odd though, I do seem to be attracting that sort around me. Must be to foil the Lee/U clan aspects. Seek balance, grasshopper. Even my brain is rebelling about behaving so long here. You guys have no idea the strain it's taking to not run over and challenge Ko to some stupid tag game just so I can move. Hee tag fishies, we gotta do that again sometime. I was using chakra to block my hearing for a lot of it so I wouldn't freak out. I confess though, because, really, if you can enhance hearing, why not block it? Show us. There's 3 sets of Byakugan eyes on me now, and I just roll mine without shame. They spoke in unison. You are totally going to use it to block out whining children or people, aren't you? I'm guessing those never-ending meetings that don't do anything. There's a subtle shifting of their chakra that lets me know I have so busted them, but it takes the edge off the stress from the meeting, and so I do as asked. A breath in, and all I hear is the rushing of my own blood, the strange echoing sensation of air being drawn into my nostrils and echoing in my skull of my thoughts. With the second breath out, I release the chakra blockage and smile. That we're going to have to figure out the hand signals to help facilitate that tiger maybe boar. The elder says as he peers at me full of curiosity. Tell me, do you generally go without hand signals? I use them with Genjutsu because it helps the concentration since I am trying to force an idea on other people, but usually the chakra will just do what I want it to if I can picture it enough. It's only if I am unclear that I need assistance in focusing it. Or it does things I don't expect and I get drained a lot more as a backlash. Remember fishies? Shoving the Uchiha boy face into the dirt with an unplanned body flicker? I shrug and grin. I don't even know the hand signs for that. Hizashi is suddenly laughing and I look at him confused. What did I do, Hizashi-sama? Nothing, you should. As usual. He goes so far as to pat the top of my head. I have clearly broken yet another rule here and my brain is just not in the mood to piece it together. Let's just leave it at I have once again amused the Hyuga and this is indeed a feat. Oh, okay. So anything else I need to know about the meeting? Don't accept any apologies if they come, or anything indeed that could seem as if a debt has been discharged. Gifts are fine, but thank them for the gift with as little surprise and interest as you can manage and never ask why. I would not put it past any of the Uchiha to try and get you to agree a favor has been done, and then say they have done the honorable part, and have the rest stricken from needing to complete at the later date. Hayashi says, taking back up control of this gathering. Favor. I look from one smug Hyuga to the next. I can almost see metaphorical tails wagging like smug cats. You got them good, didn't you? That's why you're glad I don't know what the promise is, because you want to turn it into something even bigger later on. Why, Zue-chan, you said you have no head for politics, not to self. Hyugas can do shit-eating grins. This is surprisingly terrifying. I tried to forget about the whole fiasco. We didn't bring up the event save for how the fight with Neji went. He got trounced, but much like me it just made Lee all the more eager to improve. We were currently running around the factory helping out because in all the mayhem we'd missed our turn last week when the whole clan's silent stare-off occurred. Hey Lee, Z, come over here and help us with the trash. One of our distant relatives was waving at us. Yash! Both of us yelled out, and then yes, we freaking giggled, because if there was anywhere we could be ourselves it was with the rest of the Lee clan. Easygoing and roll with the punches sort of defined the nature. Along was stupidly hard-working but happy. So we weren't the only kids rushing about and cleaning up. Maybe later on we'd actually assist with bottling or packaging or labeling and delivering items, but that usually went to the older kids. Cleanup duty was our privileged right, and really it was. Because our family trusted the kids of our clan to actually get the job done correctly. It didn't matter if you were washing floors or wiping down railings when an adult handed you the tools, showed you only once and then freaking left trusting you to do it. It's amazing how motivating doing better was when no one was there saying you did it wrong. I regularly saw my cousins go up and ask for help from each other, but it was all voluntary. We did a job well because all we ever got were thanks, even if the first time was horrid. An inborn desire to improve because we were given a task was astounding when properly harnessed. Here you guys, our older uncle pointed to the full trash cans. They're a bit heavy, and I want the runts to learn about how to put the bags in. I want them empty first, and I grabbed extras so they don't fill as fast. Don't want to make too much of a mess if they slip and end up needing to be washed out. Sure thing. Lee nodded and started pulling out the bags and tying them. I went and grabbed 4, using chakra to stack them on top of each other, and then carry them out with ease, even though just one without chakra would have weighed so much I needed to drag it. I got these. You pull them out. Is someone else washing them? I called over my shoulder. I'll ask Link to do that. Ping here? Lee asked. We weren't the only set of twins. Because he's good at tying the bags so they are snug around the top. Maybe ask him to show the little ones? He moves slower at it so they'll see it easier. A good idea. Lee was the last thing I heard from our uncle as I went out the door humming. Aside from blocking my sense of smell, this was just fine.